Chapter 289. In front of everyone's eyes, there were colorful flowers and spirit fruits of various grades, all of them intertwined with each other. What greeted him was the fragrance of the grass and the soil. Han Fei swallowed. 1,000-acre plantation should be big enough, right? The plantation left by old Jiang in the Heavenly Water Village was thousands of acres in size. Back then, when he took care of everything by himself, he almost died of exhaustion. However, just thinking about the plantation in front of him made Han Fei's blood freeze. Xiao Zhan pointed at the 100,000 mu plantation and said, "From today onwards, there will be no more. It's yours. You can go to the level 2 fishery as you wish, provided that the maintenance of the plantation is not neglected for 1 year." 1 year? Everyone cried out in alarm. Han Fei was shocked. "Master, are you serious? A year of farming?" Zhang Xuanyu was about to cry. "Teacher, I think we can go to level 3. It's the level 3 fishery." Luo Xiaobai said, "Sir, I don't understand." Xia Xiaochan asked, "Can you not farm?" Lu Renquang mumbled, "Farming is good and there's food." "Shut up." Everyone stared at this damn fatty. All he knew was to eat. Even Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan were confused. Wasn't he here to study? Why was he farming now? Well, if we want to farm, we should at least wait until we become peak-level great fishing masters like senior brother and senior sister. Xiao Zhan also glanced at Chu Jinan and Zhang Han and said, "The aptitude of you two is a bit poor, but it doesn't matter. Aptitude is not the absolute key." Lien. Then Xiao Zhan said to the others, "Within a year, I want you to help Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan become great fishing masters. At the same time, you are not allowed to become dangling fishers within a year." Everyone was dumbfounded. "Oh my God! Are you the teacher or are we the teachers? If we take our juniors with us, what will you guys do? Also, what the hell is not allowed to become a dangling fisher?" If he couldn't go any further, what else could he do but break through? Xiao Zhan was about to leave when he suddenly stopped. "Oh, I forgot to give you the 4th brocade pouch." As he spoke, Xiao Zhan handed over the brocade pouch and said, "Remember, if you want to enter the sea, only 2 people can go. The other 3 must stay underground." Xiao Zhan left. He seemed to be quite carefree. He even picked a melon from the plantation and brought it back. Luo Xiaobai took the brocade pouch, opened it, and her face changed. Finally, she silently handed the brocade pouch to Han Fei. Han Fei took a look. It read, "Suppressing his cultivation level to that of a peak-level fishing master, he concentrated on the plantation, practicing basic skills for a year. 1 year in the level 3 fishery." After they saw the brocade pouch, they couldn't help but frown. Zhang Xuanyu was puzzled. "Practice basic skills?" Xia Xiaochan asked, "What if I make a breakthrough?" Luo Xiaobai shook her head. Since this was the 4th brocade pouch, it would definitely be more difficult than the previous 3. Therefore, there must be a deeper meaning behind this. Lu Renquang scratched his head. "Anyway, I can't figure out what the deeper meaning is. Fei, can you figure it out?" Han Fei chuckled. "I'm too lazy to think about it. I have a headache now. How can I farm 100,000 acres of land?" Zhang Xuanyu patted Han Fei's shoulder and said with mixed feelings, "Fei, this is the land you farmed. I'll give you a chance to be the captain. This time you will command." Han Fei raised his eyelids. "Are you serious?" Luo Xiaobai also nodded. "I agree. I really don't know how to farm." Han Fei chuckled. "Okay, that's what you said." Xia Xiaochan asked suspiciously, "What are you going to do? Do you have any bad ideas?" Han Fei snapped his fingers smugly. "What bad ideas can I have? I'm the chief commander. I have to coordinate the overall situation." Xia Xiaochan immediately glared at him. "Do you want to command but not work?" Han Fei looked at Xia Xiaochan's dagger. Han Fei smiled awkwardly. "Do I look like that kind of person?" Xia Xiaochan glared. Yes. Zhang Xuanyu echoed. No wonder I had a bad feeling just now. It turns out that you want to slack off. Han Fei quickly interrupted. Zhang Xuanyu, be responsible for your words. I'll be the one watering the plantation of 100,000 acres. Lu Renquang muttered, but you can't always slack off. How can we manage 100,000 acres of land? Han Fei waved to a member of the fish dragons, and then a level 9 fisher ran over eagerly. Young master, what can I do for you? Han Fei said. Arrange dozens of people to measure the entire plantation. By the way, get me some paper and pens. The gang member's face turned green. Damn, dozens of people to measure 100,000 acres of land? Han Fei casually threw out dozens of phantom fish and said, they're very nutritious. Enough for all of you to become fishing masters. The man perked up. No problem. Don't worry, young master. It'll only take me 3 days to get it done. Han Fei nodded in satisfaction. Arrange some people to pick all types of spiritual fruits and spiritual plants in the plantation and mark their locations on the map. Remember, don't leave any behind. Yes, young master. Zhang Xuanyu looked at the leaving members of the fish dragons dumbfoundedly. That's it? Han Fei put on a weird smile, and he was immediately possessed by a genius. Han Fei said confidently, if a worker wants to do a good job, he must first sharpen his tools. Is 100,000 acres large? Not really. What we need to do is to divide tens of thousands of spiritual plants in such a large area, but this is obviously not enough. So, I decided to cut off the ones we don't need and keep the ones we do need. In this way, we can expand the planting range and reduce the types of spiritual plants. With the cooperation of Xiaobai and Chu Jinan, it'll be done in a month. Everyone. Lu Renquang scratched his head. You don't understand? Zhang Xuanyu asked. I understand. You want to reduce production. Xia Xiaochan asked. So, don't we still have to farm? Luo Xiaobai nodded. Although there are some things I don't quite understand, I agree. Han Fei said proudly, what do you know? Do you know that I can save 11 months of time by planning this for all of you? In the next 11 months, we'll be able to sleep soundly. Everyone. Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan were both dumbfounded. We don't know and we dare not ask. Anyway, we just do what senior brother said in the distance at the school gate. Old Bai frowned and said, no. This kid's brain is pretty good. It won't have the effect of nourishing his mind. Wenren Yu said lightly, don't worry. They just want to be lazy. Haha. Didn't the fish dragons make a lot of money recently and want to expand? There are plenty of things for them to do later. Xiao Zhan scratched his head. What's wrong with Han Fei's brain? Although I don't know what he's going to do, he seems to be very smart. Old Bai snorted. Smart. Later, ask Han Fei to plow the land and give spiritual energy to Zhang Xuanyu, ask the little fatty to trim the flowers and leaves with his combat skills, and ask Xia Xiaochan to be responsible for picking the plantation. As for Luo Xiaobai, she is a manipulator. In the early stage of planning the plantation, she will contribute a lot. Wenren Yu nodded. In this way, everyone's abilities can be trained. Xiao Zhan asked, what about Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan? Old Bai chuckled. It's up to them. Do you think they are stupid? Do they really want to take care of their junior brothers and sisters? 1 month later. The plantation of the Thug Academy had become a rectangular array, and there was a wooden sign on the edge of each field, on which the name of the spiritual plant was written. In the field, there was a gully inside and outside, and there was a path in the middle for easy walking. In the center of the plantation, on the training ground the size of 3 or 4 football fields, a mantis shrimp lay on the ground in boredom, its 9 tails wagging on the ground. Among them, 2 tails were waving in the air, cutting through the void and whipping a boy and a girl. Ling Yuan raised her shield in front of Chu Jinan, and the next moment, the 2 of them were slapped away at the same time. They didn't know how many times they had been slapped away. During this period, their strength had improved rapidly. During the day, they fought with the nine-tailed mantis shrimp and went back to absorb spiritual energy at night. Ling Yuan pulled Chu Jinan and said, "Your sea god grass can't control its tail at all. Also, the combat skills that senior brother Han Fei taught you are not flexible enough. You could have dodged it just now." Chu Jinan blushed slightly. "I wanted to entangle it with the sea god grass, but I was a step too late. I won't do it next time." Ling Yuan shook her head. "You can't control it. It has 9 tails. And it's so powerful. You've experienced it before. If senior brother Han Fei hadn't allowed it to use only 2 tails, we would have been killed." Ring, ring, ring. With a swish, the two passed by the training ground, and Han Fei shouted, "Chu Jinan, why did you fail again? You have 1 month to make your physique reach the peak of a junior fishing master." Chu Jinan. This was the first time he and Ling Yuan had seen Han Fei and Xia Shaochan pass by. Ling Yuan sighed. "Senior sister Xiaobai will be here soon." Sure enough, after a while. Ring, ring, Luo Xiaobai slowly walked out of the ground and looked at the two of them. "Have you seen Han Fei and Xia Shaochan?" Ling Yuan blinked her eyes. "Ah. The two of them just ran away with a green striped fruit. I don't know where they went." Luo Xiaobai's face was black. "These two bastards, they're stealing food again." In just 1 month, hundreds of kinds of spiritual fruits had been eaten to extinction by the two of them. Fortunately, Lu Renquang and Zhang Xuanyu went to the level 2 fishery. Otherwise, thousands of kinds of spiritual fruits would have been extinct. Mobile phones. Chapter 290. Ever since the fish dragons gained a foothold in the Blue Sea town, they gradually led the trend of food in the town. Fish dragon barbecue stalls, fish dragon hot pot restaurants, as well as fish dragon buffet restaurants and fish dragon mahjong houses, had opened more than 100 stores in the Blue Sea town. The members of the fish dragons gradually changed from fishermen to fishing masters and even great fishing masters. With Han Fei's help, Li Gong became a fishing master too. Of course, he was just an ordinary one. After all, he advanced with the spiritual energy of rare fish and didn't have a solid foundation. So, in terms of combat skills, they were definitely not good enough. But what did the fish dragons need now? Not thugs, but a group of loyal and reliable entrepreneurs. At this moment, Han Fei and Xia Shaochan were hiding in an exclusive private room of the Fish Dragon Buffet restaurant. Han Fei was cutting a watermelon and said with a smile, "Hey! This is the last watermelon. I've saved the seeds. I'll plant them on a piece of land next year." Xia Shaochan took a bite of the watermelon and said in a daze, "I envy Lu Renquang and the others so much." Han Fei said in disdain, "What fun can there be in the level 2 fishery? They're just leftovers. At most, the two of them will go and explore some ordinary danger zones." Xia Shaochan held her chin with one hand. "That's still better than farming. It's been a month. It's been so hard." Han Fei picked up a piece of watermelon and took a bite. "Just do it. I have to gather spiritual energy and fertilize the land one by one. It's too hard for me." Xia Shaochan glanced at Han Fei in disdain. "Don't think I don't know that you've been studying a bunch of spirit-gathering arrays in the library. You don't intend to fertilize at all. You want to transform the entire plantation into an enormous spirit-gathering array." At this moment, Li Gong came with a couple of people with snack. "Young master, it's been a long time since you last visited. You have no idea how complicated the management of the fish dragons is. Even I'm having a hard time managing them." Han Fei patted Li Gong's belly and said angrily, "Look at you. You've put on weight again. I'm told that Little Red is pregnant?" At the mention of this, Lian Ang's expression immediately brightened. His face flushed as he said, "It's all thanks to you, young master. If it wasn't for young master, how could Gangzi be where he is today?" Gangzi's respect for young master. Han Fei quickly waved his hand. Stop. How's the thing I asked you to prepare?" Lien Eng's expression changed slightly, and he said with expectation in his eyes, "Young master, the 5th Academy in the Heavenly Water Village has been built. We'll listen to you and only recruit talented students and the children of our gang. Provide them with the best resources and teach them only mysterious level and spirit level combat skills. In less than 10 years, our fish dragons will definitely have a great fishing master." Han Fei nodded. "Take the money from the gang. In addition, you have to work hard on your own. With your current strength, you really won't be able to hold the fort in the future." Yes, young master, please enjoy your meal." After Li Gong left, Xia Shaochan looked at Han Fei curiously. You seem to treat your subordinates quite well. You've earned so much money, but you don't need it for yourself. Why are you keeping it?" Han Fei smiled. "What do you think you can buy with mid-quality pearls?" Xia Shaochan said, "A lot of things. You can buy everything in the Linglong Tower." Han Fei was disdainful. "Silly girl, do you really think that everything in the Linglong Tower is good? Most of the things there are abandoned, and the best ones are spiritual weapons. As for combat skills, they can't compare to the library in our school." Han Fei said unhurriedly, "Let me tell you, you have to be far-sighted. I'm killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Firstly, I'm giving back to the Heavenly Water Village, and secondly, I'm leaving a way out for myself. Our school has a big secret. It used to be as glorious as it is now. If something happens again, I can at least leave a way out for us, can't I?" Xia Shaochan rolled her eyes. "The fish dragons? If the Thug Academy is gone, the fish dragons will be occupied immediately. There's no way out for us." Han Fei said with a smile, "You don't understand. Even ants have a way to survive. Otherwise, wouldn't the white fish and yellow fish in the ocean have been extinct if they're only fist-sized?" Xia Shaochan said, "Yellow fish don't have fists." Han Fei. 2 months later, Zhang Xuanyu and Lu Renquang returned, and Luo Xiaobai and Xia Shaochan went out. Only Han Fei often wandered in the plantation with a lot of books in his arms. Sometimes he would squat on the ground and draw pictures, looking nervous. Half a year later, Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan advanced to be advanced fishing masters one after another. Now the 2 of them could already resist the attack of the 9-tailed mantis shrimp's 4 tails. Although they were a bit embarrassed, they finally blocked the attack. On a certain day 10 months later, Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan were resting when they suddenly felt that the entire plantation was surging with spiritual energy. Spiritual energy that could topple mountains and overturn seas swarmed over. Chu Jinan exclaimed, "Did senior brother succeed?" Ling Yuan found it incredible. "Is there such a large spirit-gathering formation? How did he do it?" In the school, Wenren Yu and Xiao Zhan came to the school gate one after another. Feeling the spiritual energy swarming in from all directions, they couldn't help but feel shocked. Wenren Yu said in surprise, "Such a large spirit-gathering formation? That's impossible." Xiao Zhan licked his lips and said, "That kid seems to have succeeded." Old Bai grunted and slowly got up. "Let's go and have a look." The 3 of them stood in the air and looked down from the sky. They were surprised to find that in the huge plantation there were nearly 100 strange patterns. Some patterns were like a fish, some were many circles, and some even looked like fishing rods. Old Bai exclaimed in surprise. He didn't engrave a spirit-gathering formation on it, but carved it in these patterns. Then, these patterns and patterns are attracted to each other, forming a natural spirit-gathering formation? Wenren Yu nodded. "Although I don't understand it, it's very good. The spiritual energy in the entire plantation is more than 3 times higher than before. At the same time, because of the massive spiritual energy gathering in the plantation, the turbulence even attracted the attention of the entire Blue Sea town. A large number of people gathered, and many strong masters hung in the sky. Including the presidents of the 3 academies and the mayor, they all stopped and looked thoughtful. Han Fei was bragging to Xia Shaochan and the others. Han Fei said smugly. I knew you couldn't understand it. This is called a crop circle. Ba ba ba. This is called a plantation circle. I used 108 patterns to form a large array. Once the large array is completed, it can be used for at least 10 years. Isn't it awesome? Ha ha. Everyone was dumbfounded. Even we can't understand it. Why are you showing off? Han Fei laughed. Okay, now it's my turn to play in the sea. You can be jealous. Xia Shaochan nodded. I'll go with you. At this moment, Wenren Yu's voice sounded. Take Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan with you. Han Fei was speechless. Why did they go out with only 2 people? Why did I have to take 3 burdens with me? Yes, in Han Fei's eyes, Xia Shaochan was also a burden. This was not a person who could save themselves from trouble. Old Bai landed in front of the 3 of them and pointed to the plantation. Did you study it independently? Han Fei's eyes lit up. You know my stuff. I combined the idea of the crop circle with old Zhang's spirit-gathering scripture, and it took me nearly a year to develop it. In the past 10 months, he had studied at least dozens of arrays. Although he hadn't figured out the other arrays yet, he believed that he had deduced the spirit-gathering array to the peak. Han Fei grinned. Not that I'm bragging, but no one else in the Blue Sea town can build such a large spirit-gathering array. Old Bai slapped Han Fei on the head. Stop bragging. A really powerful spirit-gatherer can build it in 3 days at most. You've been working on it for 10 months and you're still bragging? Dumbfounded, Han Fei exclaimed, That's impossible. My array is interconnected. How can it be built in 3 days? President, tell me. I promise I won't beat him to death. Old Bai sneered. Do you think I'm kidding? F***ck off. Don't brag anymore. Otherwise, don't tell anyone that you are a student of the Thug Academy. Lu Renkuang was speechless. He blew up again. Zhang Xuanyu got up and patted the mud on his butt. I knew it. You fooled me. So you were just bragging. Han Fei blushed and covered his face, shouting as he walked, Come on, let's go to the fishery. Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan were both stunned for a while before they realized what was going on and hurriedly chased after Han Fei. Xia Shaochan was not so anxious. After Han Fei left, she asked, President, is there really someone who can build such a large spirit-gathering array in 3 days? Old Bai touched his beard and nodded. Yes, there must be someone. I know a spirit-gatherer at the level of law enforcer. Pooh, everyone staggered. President, are you F***king kidding us? Wenren Yu and Xiao Zhan also looked at Old Bai in surprise. This is too much. Why don't you compare him to a venerable? Zhang Xuanyu swallowed. We must not tell Han Fei about this. Well, just tell him that he is still weak. Xia Shaochan stuck out her tongue. Is Han Fei really so talented as a spirit gatherer? Chapter 291. The Level 2 Fishery. The sunlight was dazzling on the surface of the sea. The waves were covered in a layer of golden light by the sunlight. It was a spectacular sight. Han Fei and Xia Shaochan had been in the Level 2 fishery for nearly 2 months. Because he took Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan with him, Han Fei couldn't explore any dangerous places. Of course, Xia Shaochan discovered the weirdness of this water before she did anything. The water temperature here was rather cold, as if there was something extremely cold. At this moment, Xia Shaochan was sitting on the back of the giant arowana and swinging her feet in the water. Not far away from her, a large patch of seaweed lay flat on the surface of the sea. These seaweeds sometimes changed into nets and spears, entangling a few iron-head fish from time to time. On that patch of seaweed, Ling Yuan was fighting a lobster with 2 swords in her hands. The swords clashed with the lobster's claws, causing loud clanging noises. Xia Shaochan kicked the water and shouted, Ling Yuan, you are an armorist, not a soul warrior. You can control swords, but don't use them. And Chu Jinan, do you want to farm in the sea with such a large area of seaweed? The main purpose of the manipulator is to move. Ji the enemy? What happened? You've actually provided the enemy with a favorable fighting environment. As soon as Xia Xiaochan's voice fell, the large area of seaweed suddenly gathered in the middle and then spread to the big lobster. Soon, the lobster was almost covered by seaweed. The lobster tried its best to break free, but the seaweed was so tough that its joints were stuck. Ding ding ding! Dozens of long swords flew out of Ling Yuan's armor box and attacked a corner of the big lobster's head, killing it. A moment later, the seaweed converged and transformed. Rin shape. Chu Jinan scratched his head in embarrassment. Senior sister, Xia Xiaochan waved her hand and said, "Go cook on the fishing boat. I'm going to the bottom of the sea to see what Han Fei is doing." Han Fei found a gathering place of mantis shrimp in the level 2 fishery. This was a seabed densely covered with sand and rock. There were countless large holes in the sand at the bottom of the seabed. Whenever a school of fish passed by and looked for food in the sand at the bottom of the sea, a long figure would always emerge from a big hole, which was exactly the same kind as the nine-tailed mantis shrimp. At this moment, in a certain cave, sand was flying and smoke was billowing. Bang! The shrimp hole collapsed, and 2 giant mantis shrimps were stuck face to face. The scene was indescribable. Han Fei said gloomily, "Nine-tailed mantis shrimp, enough. I've been watching for a long time, and you're still not done?" The nine-tailed mantis shrimp waved its tail in the water and wanted to rub against him, but it was kicked away by Han Fei. "I'll give you another 100 seconds. If you don't finish, I'll braise mantis shrimp." Suddenly, Han Fei turned his head to the side, only to see Xia Xiaochan staring at the nine-tailed mantis shrimp rolling in the sand, and then at Han Fei, dumbfounded. Han Fei blushed. Well, actually, I just brought the nine-tailed mantis shrimp here to find a girlfriend. It will be over soon." Xia Xiaochan said gloomily, "You guys are disgusting." Han Fei was speechless. "Why are we the only ones who are disgusting? It's the nine-tailed mantis shrimp that is too disgusting. Yes, this guy must have been single for too long." Then, Han Fei punched out angrily. In a shrimp hole next to him, a mantis shrimp ran out angrily, followed by a big seal the size of a hill. After a while, Han Fei dragged a 3 or 4 meter long mantis shrimp directly to the boat. He couldn't stay any longer. He was too ashamed. On the boat, Xia Xiaochan and the other 2 were dumbfounded to see Han Fei come back with a mantis shrimp. Was he going to eat a mantis shrimp in front of the nine-tailed mantis shrimp? Wasn't that inappropriate? Han Fei snorted. "You guys do it. The mantis shrimp tastes better. Ling Yuan, peel the shell." After a while, the nine-tailed mantis shrimp came back. As soon as he saw a pile of mantis shrimp shells on the boat, he immediately lowered his head and hid to the side, shivering all over. Chu Jinan said, "Senior brother, why don't you take back the shrimp? 9 tails?" Han Fei snorted. "No, let it watch." The nine-tailed mantis shrimp secretly raised his eyes and glanced at Han Fei, thinking, "Dumbass master is too scary. I'm just going to find a girlfriend. Do you have to go that far?" Xia Xiaochan didn't care. She picked up a large piece of lobster meat and stuffed it into her mouth. After eating for a long time, she said slowly, "Shall we go back tomorrow?" "Well, I haven't found the place you said anyway. Let's go back." With that, Han Fei looked at Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan. "Are you two ready to become great fishing masters?" Chu Jinan shook his head. "Senior brother, I feel that my physique is still a little weak." Han Fei waved his hand. "You can make the breakthrough now. Your physique is already comparable to that of a normal peak-level fishing master. You're on the same starting line as them. If you want to break through again, that's a matter of opportunity. We won't help you find it." Ling Yuan nodded. "Thank you, senior brother and senior sister." The 2 of them had long wanted to break through. Hearing this, he immediately began his breakthrough. In the eyes of others, this seemed to be an impossible matter. But in the eyes of Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan, it was a matter of course. If you're in this situation, with the help of spiritual fish, You can't become a great fishing master within a year. How can you be called a genius if you can't break through to become a great fishing master within a year? Although everyone had been playing crazily in the past year, they had done everything they needed to do. Lu Renkuang could now control a terrifying number of weapons, which was probably comparable to Li Hani's. After all, it was not a simple thing to trim branches and leaves with torrents of knives and swords. Luo Xiaobai also discovered a new ability of hers. She could actually attach herself to spiritual plants and shuttle among them, which was simply a divine skill. Zhang Xuanyu was the most diligent one in the sea. According to him, it was because he deduced the two combat skills, Furious Sea 9-layered rods and Furious Sea Wave. He wanted to practice in the sea for a while. What was more intriguing was that these two combat skills were both created by him. Xia Xiaochan was even more amazing. In this year during the event, she spent as much as half a year in the sea. Her heaven-level movement technique, roaming technique, was very good. In terms of speed, she was undoubtedly the fastest among the group of people. Even if Han Fei was attached to Little Gold and used the shadow swimming art, it was not easy for him to catch her. As for Han Fei himself, after a year of cultivation, his greatest achievement was in arrays. He had copied the spirit-gathering scripture left by old Jiang from beginning to end. Although he had only mastered the spirit-gathering formation among these large-scale formations, he was still able to use it. However, it wasn't like he didn't gain anything from other types of formations. It could be said that he had roughly learned all of the numerous small array formations in the book. For example, spirit-trapping arrays, spiritual energy barriers, stealth arrays, breath-concealing arrays, spirit explosion arrays, etc., covering no less than 30 types. Of course, these small arrays would not make Han Fei stronger, but they would make him an all-rounder. Outside the array, the energy in Han Fei's body was basically digested. Although his strength had not been improved, his indestructible body had been improved. Not only was his skin thicker, but his internal organs were also tougher. Making a breakthrough on the sea was definitely a dangerous thing, especially for novices like Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan. Of course, with Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan here, they were not afraid. Han Fei kicked the 9-tailed mantis shrimp. Go, kill all the fish that try to approach. Xia Xiaochan curled her lips. It's really miserable to be your spiritual beast. Han Fei sneered. You don't know how happy it was just now. Frowning, Xia Xiaochan asked, We've been here for 2 months. Why don't you catch a contractual spiritual beast for them? Han Fei was helpless. Then should we help them cultivate and become dangling fishers? To become dangling fishers? Some things can be helped, but some things have to be done by themselves. When the 5 of us went to catch exotic contractual spiritual beasts, although Little White led the way, didn't the 5 of us catch them together in the end? Xia Xiaochan thought for a while. That's right. Let's leave the marked map to them and let them find it by themselves. Han Fei nodded indifferently. When we go back this time, we will go to the level 3 fishery. Is it in the level 3 fishery? Xia Xiaochan stretched out. Yes. I've been bored to death for a whole year. With that, Xia Xiaochan stood on the deck and fell into the sea on her back. Lying on the sea, she said cheerfully, the sea is so fun. Farming? It's not suitable for me. Han Fei said, Come up. It's almost time for dinner. Why are you still running into the water? Xia Xiaochan said, Let's make a breakthrough too. If I'm not mistaken, Little White and the others should have all become dangling fishers by now. In the next second, Xia Xiaochan flashed and appeared next to the hot pot, which made Han Fei speechless. Is teleportation a big deal? Can you do whatever you want just because you can teleport? Xia Xiaochan said helplessly. I don't know why, but I feel that I can't use up my spiritual energy recently, so I want to use some. Han Fei was speechless. Is she showing off? At this moment, spiritual energy suddenly surged from Xia Xiaochan's body. Accompanied by spiritual energy, There was even a trace of red light. In an instant, Han Fei's face changed greatly and he stood up with a swish. Not good. Why did she suddenly have an attack? Cell phone website. Chapter 292. Han Fei felt that his blood was freezing. Why did she have an attack at this moment? What the hell is wrong with her? Xia Xiaochan was still smiling a second ago, but her eyes turned red the next second. But to Han Fei's surprise, Xia Xiaochan didn't attack him but flashed 100 meters away. Then she rushed directly to the bottom of the sea. Han Fei's face changed greatly and he immediately shouted, "Nine-tailed mantis shrimp, protect them. Little gold, attach." With a swish, Han Fei rushed into the water, only to see a red shadow flashing in the distance. Xia Xiaochan, wait. He had to admit that the speed of the two was so fast that they could definitely stun ordinary great fishing masters. Xia Xiaochan was a hunter and was known for her dexterity and speed. With the heaven-level roaming art, she was like a red lightning bolt in the ocean. Although Han Fei's shadow roaming art was only demon level, its quality had reached divine quality. Plus Little Gold's super speed, he was the only one who could catch up with Xia Xiaochan. The two of them, one in front and one behind, blasted through many schools of fish wherever they went. Along the way, countless fish rolled in the water. When they came to their senses, Han Fei and Little Gold were already gone. But after only half an hour, Han Fei suddenly stopped because Xia Xiaochan disappeared. Did she become invisible? Han Fei's face was solemn. It shouldn't be. When Xia Xiaochan had an attack, she would usually go on a killing spree. She wouldn't go invisible at all. But now, he actually lost her? Han Fei looked around and found something wrong. This place seemed to be a slightly dangerous treasure trove in the Level 2 fishery. Zhang Xuanyu had marked it on the fish skin handbook. However, everyone felt that the opportunities here were not great, so they didn't come. But at this moment, Han Fei felt that the spiritual energy here was denser and the water temperature was much colder. Around him, a school of dragonhead fish happened to swim by. At this moment, seeing Han Fei, hundreds of dragonhead fish rushed at him. Han Fei's face was all black. Chi. Han Fei flapped his wings, shook off these dragonhead fish, and dived into the water. A moment later, Han Fei saw several three-headed sea snakes that had been chopped into pieces at the bottom of the sea. Immediately, his eyes narrowed. Xia Xiaochan had been here. Following the wreckage that appeared along the way, Han Fei miraculously found the entrance to an underground cave. This was a dangerous area full of Buddha's tentacles. Just like the shipwreck that Jiang Qin took him to the ordinary fishery to find, this place was also enchanted with illusions. Moreover, the person who created the environment had placed the entrance in the Buddha hand's tentacles. How could an ordinary person find it? If Xia Xiaochan hadn't cut off most of the Buddha's hands, he wouldn't have been able to find them. However, Han Fei wondered how Xia Xiaochan knew that there was an underground entrance here. Also, he vaguely sensed coldness from the entrance. He felt that there must be something cold in this underground cave. Han Fei rushed into the underground cave without hesitation. As soon as he entered, he felt the temperature drop by dozens of degrees. After descending less than 20 meters, the temperature was already below zero. When Han Fei landed on the ground of the cave, he found that there were plants growing here. However, most of these plants were ice blue. Near the plants, there were many fine ice crystals. Han Fei found it amazing that water would freeze at 0 degrees. Even if the salinity of the seawater was high, there was still a freezing point, just a few degrees below zero. But this didn't mean that the seawater wouldn't freeze. Wait, the spiritual energy here is very abundant. Does the spiritual energy affect the freezing point? Han Fei picked up a piece of ice crystal, crushed it slightly, felt the temperature, and then looked around. There seemed to be a large piece of ice a kilometer away. Han Fei moved his feet and quickly approached, only to find that Xia Xiaochan was lying on a huge piece of ice that was thousands of meters long and wide. If that was the case, it wouldn't be a big deal. At this moment, Xia Xiaochan's body was filled with red light, and the heat she emitted was comparable to that of magma. Although the ice in front of her was very cold, Xia Xiaochan had already formed a human shape on it at this moment. Han Fei subconsciously touched the ice, only to retract his hand in an instant. This temperature was comparable to that of the blue sea wandering dragon bone. Han Fei said to her via voice transmission, "Xia Xiaochan, can you hear me?" As soon as Han Fei said this, Xia Xiaochan suddenly opened her eyes, which were full of red light. In the blink of an eye, Xia Xiaochan was gone, and Han Fei hurriedly drew his knife to block her. Sure enough, Xia Xiaochan appeared behind Han Fei. The dagger in her hand cut Han Fei's body. Xia Xiaochan shouldn't be Han Fei's opponent now. But at this moment, Xia Xiaochan was like a high-temperature heat source, and behind Han Fei was a big iceberg. He was sandwiched in the middle. That sour feeling. It was not an exaggeration at all. Precisely because of this, Han Fei's movements were a beat slower and he directly hit the iceberg. The surface of Han Fei's body was freezing at a speed visible to the naked eye, but he didn't care so much. Xia Xiaochan stabbed at him again. At this moment she was unconscious, and Han Fei didn't dare to be careless. Clang, 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 a scuffle broke out. Han Fei was beaten to the iceberg for a while, and Xia Xiaochan was thrown to the iceberg. These two people actually directly hit a perfectly good ice mountain, causing it to be full of cracks, and the ice surface to be filled with holes of various sizes. Of course, from the beginning to the end, Han Fei was more on the defensive. Therefore, in this battle, he couldn't escape the fate of being crushed from the beginning to the end. At this time, the two of them had fought their way into the iceberg from the outside. The extremely hard iceberg was abruptly dug out by the two of them. Han Fei was speechless. What the hell is wrong with this girl? His illness was way too serious. Her combat power had been improved by 2 levels. However, Han Fei seemed to have guessed Xia Xiaochan's intention. She seemed to want to use the coldness of the iceberg to cool down the strange high temperature bursting out of her body. Therefore, Han Fei kept digging holes, causing the two of them to fight deeper and deeper, until the holes were filled with seawater again and began to condense again. Han Fei didn't know how long he had been digging. Anyway, in the narrow space, he was stabbed thousands of times, and the divine healing technique was constantly cast on his body. Suddenly, Han Fei felt a shiver all over, and the temperature suddenly dropped again. He turned his head and found a blue stone, embedded in the iceberg. Holy sh*t. What is this? Han Fei's body was instantly covered with a layer of ice, and his movements began to slow down. On the other hand, the red light on Xia Xiaochan's body weakened a little, but she seemed to be fine and continued to attack Han Fei. At the last moment, the only thing Han Fei could do was to use Forge the Universe to drain the surrounding seawater and leave an appropriate amount of air. 1 day later, Xia Xiaochan was woken up by the cold. She wanted to open her eyes, only to find that she couldn't even open her eyelids. Because it was too cold, she immediately fused with the red fire tricky shrimp. During the fusion, Xia Xiaochan was stunned. Her strength had improved a lot. Had she become a dangling fisher? When did she make the breakthrough? Then, the ice melted slightly. She struggled to open her eyes, only to find that Han Fei was holding her hands against the wall in the posture of bang. Of course, Han Fei was a human-shaped ice sculpture at this moment, and his whole body was frozen into a stone. The flames roared, and Xia Xiaochan struggled to break part of the ice, but she found that Han Fei was still in the posture of bang, embedded in the ice, and Han Fei's speechless expression was still frozen on his face. Explode! Xia Xiaochan let out a shout, shattering the ice on the two of them. However, in the next second a scream came out. The ice was broken, but the two people's clothes were also broken. Not only that, the ice on the surface of Han Fei's body was broken, but his body was still stiff, still in the posture of bang. However, Han Fei's eyeballs trembled several times. In the next moment, he pretended that he hadn't come to himself, and his eyeballs didn't move at all. Smack! Han Fei was slapped so hard that his mouth was crooked. Han Fei was furious. "Why did you hit me?" Xia Xiaochan shouted. "Don't look! Give me the clothes!" At this moment, Xia Xiaochan was burning all over, trying to cover her body with flames. Han Fei looked up. "I didn't see anything. You found this place yourself." Then Han Fei grabbed 2 sets of clothes from Forge the Universe. However, in the next moment the clothes first burned and then froze. In just a moment they were frozen into ice. Han Fei, Xia Xiaochan. Han Fei said, "Wait, it's all because of that stone. You were having an attack yesterday, and I didn't have time to pick that stone." In a space with a radius of less than 1 square meter, Han Fei breathed quickly and turned his head to point at a blue stone in the ice 100 meters away. Xia Xiaochan blushed. "Close your eyes. Don't open them." Cell phone site. Chapter 293. Han Fei snorted and thought to himself, "I've seen it all. I don't mind closing my eyes." After a while, Han Fei felt the flames burning, and Xia Xiaochan seemed to be trying her best to open the channel. But when she reached out to grab the stone, she suddenly let out a loud cry. Han Fei quickly opened his eyes, only to see that one of Xia Xiaochan's hands had been frozen into ice, and the surface of her body was also quickly freezing. Her body was turning into an ice sculpture at a speed visible to the naked eye. Shocked, Han Fei quickly flashed to Xia Xiaochan's side and reached out to the blue stone. However, he was almost no different from Xia Xiaochan. As soon as his fingers touched it, his whole body froze. At that moment, he felt that his hand was almost crippled. "Come back!" Fortunately, a second before Han Fei was about to become an ice sculpture, the blue stone was collected into Forge the Universe. Of course, the result was that Forge the Universe became a world of ice and snow. Apart from the Spirit Spring, everything else was frozen into ice. Outside, Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan stared at each other like 2 ice sculptures. Xia Xiaochan's body was burning with flames, and it took her several minutes to melt all the ice on the surface of her body. After melting, Xia Xiaochan flashed to Han Fei's back. "Don't look back. Take out another set of clothes." Han Fei was speechless. Fortunately, they had a lot of clothes. Otherwise, he really couldn't take them out now. And in this iceberg, without the blue stone, the temperature was not so cold. Although their clothes were also covered with a layer of frost, they were not frozen into pieces. After a moment, outside the iceberg, neither Xia Xiaochan nor Han Fei spoke, and the atmosphere seemed to be a little subtle. After a long while, Xia Xiaochan suddenly said, "Don't tell anyone about this. Don't tell anyone. Keep that stone for yourself. Don't take it out again." Han Fei was helpless. "What if you lose control again? You were like a fireball just now, and this iceberg was almost melted by you." Xia Xiaochan blushed. That won't do. Then give me that stone and go away." Han Fei muttered, "Hey, it's not a big deal. I'm underage." Pooh! In the next second, Han Fei was stabbed. However, this slash surprised both of them. The show pierced through Han Fei's flesh by 2 inches. "Oh, are you trying to murder your husband?" Xia Xiaochan glared at him angrily. "Shut up. You've already passed your coming-of-age ceremony." "I didn't mean it." Han Fei was speechless. That made sense. Due to the rapid depletion of the population in this world, most people matured early. 12 years old was considered an adult. Now that they were all 14 years old, they couldn't be considered children anymore. Han Fei's face changed slightly. "When did you make the breakthrough?" Xia Xiaochan shook her head slightly. "I made a breakthrough after I woke up." Han Fei quickly cast the divine healing technique on himself. "Don't stab me yet. No, you go back first. I'm going to that small mystic realm to make a breakthrough." Xia Xiaochan froze for a moment. "Then I'll wait for you outside." "What are you waiting for?" Go back and bring them here. Don't let anything happen to them. There are no enemies in this little mystic realm, so there's no danger. Xia Xiaochan hesitated for a moment and didn't refute. After several awkward contacts with Han Fei, she was a little dazed. At this moment, she really obeyed and went back. Han Fei went into the small mystic realm just now, sat cross-legged, and quickly made a breakthrough. Han Fei panicked. He couldn't believe that he couldn't stop Xia Xiaochan. What should he do? His indestructible body couldn't even stop her dagger. Show! Han Fei complained in his heart, what the hell is this indestructible body? Even this can't stop her. It seems that I'm still too weak. I can't even stop her. 1 hour later. There was a click sound. The spiritual spring in Forge the Universe was rapidly decreasing. Han Fei felt that his body was expanding, his meridians were broadened, and there was a layer of crystal on his flesh and bones. His physical strength was increasing at an incredible speed. However, when Han Fei broke through to the dangling fisher realm this time, he felt that the consumption of spiritual energy suddenly increased. When he was a great fishing master, he had calculated that on average, 500,000 points of spiritual energy could help him advance by a small level. But this time, a small level required 500,000 points of spiritual energy, and a small level consumed nearly 1.5 million points of spiritual energy. And this didn't include the million points of spiritual energy consumed during the breakthrough. Adding them all up, he had consumed more than 2.5 million points of spiritual energy to break through to the dangling fisher realm this time. Han Fei swallowed subconsciously. Cultivation seems to be getting more and more difficult. According to the spiritual energy intake of the 3rd level of void fishing, theoretically, it would take him a full 5 years to break through from the dangling fisher realm to the hanging fisher realm. And this was in the case of hard cultivation every day. If it were like him, wouldn't it take 7 or 8 years? Han Fei hurriedly glanced at the spiritual spring in Forge the Universe. There was a small half of the river, but now there was only less than a foot deep. He was afraid that the total amount of spiritual energy was less than 5 million points. Han Fei almost burst into tears. Back then, there was so much spiritual spring that Forge the Universe could be filled. It had only been a year, but there was only so little left. These were not enough to deduce the 4th level of the void fishing art. After another 2 hours, Han Fei finally stabilized his realm. Under the accumulation of a large amount of spiritual energy, his physique was slightly improved. Han Fei tried to take out the rod that he pulled off the rock-holding turtle. This time, the rod was much lighter. If it was in the past, holding this stick in his hand would be like holding a small mountain, but now it was like holding a small mountain. At this moment, he could only hold a boulder at most. Han Fei even tried to play a set of rod techniques with it. When the rod fell to the ground, even the ground cracked. Not bad. I can carry it, but it's a bit slow and not smooth enough. It would be great if it could be lighter. At this moment, Xia Xiaochan ran in from outside. Seeing Han Fei holding the rod, she was slightly taken aback. Is this that rod? Seeing that Han Fei was fine, she immediately fixed her eyes on the rod in Han Fei's hand. Han Fei nodded. I just tried it. Xia Xiaochan asked, Can I try it? Han Fei stretched out his hand and loosened it. Xia Xiaochan took it, but then her face changed. She hugged the rod with her whole body, but she was still pressed to the ground. Xia Xiaochan hurriedly said, Take it away, take it away. Han Fei picked up the rod, shook it slightly, and threw it into Forge the Universe. This rod is a bit heavy. It's good for smashing people, but not good for fighting. Why did you come down? Xia Xiaochan dodged his eyes. Can't I come down and have a look? You. Let me stab you again. Han Fei was amused. Hey. Xia Xiaochan, let's stop. I'm not playing with you. With that, Xia Xiaochan stabbed him with the knife. The strength of this stab was about the same as the previous one, but this time it could only stab less than an inch into Han Fei's body. Han Fei grinned. Although I can heal myself, it hurts. Xia Xiaochan rolled her eyes at him. You deserve it. On the fishing boat, after Han Fei came up, the nine-tailed mantis shrimp ran over and rubbed its hard head against Han Fei's calf. Han Fei kicked it away and looked at Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan. Hey, you've both made a breakthrough. Ling Yuan blinked her eyes and looked at Han Fei. Congratulations, senior brother Han Fei. You've become a dangling fisher. Han Fei smiled. A dangling fisher? He still remembered the scene when the five of them worked together to fight against Xiao Zhan. A dangling fisher could press 5 genius great fishing masters to the ground. But now he had also become a dangling fisher. Xia Xiaochan sat on the top of the boat and shouted, "Take off. Let's go back to school." Chu Jinan quickly ran to control the fishing boat, and Han Fei no longer fiddled with the hot pot. He also climbed to the top of the boat, glanced at Xia Xiaochan, and asked her via voice transmission, "Will you still have an attack after becoming a dangling fisher?" Xia Xiaochan tilted her head and glanced at Han Fei. "Do you want me to have an attack?" Han Fei quickly waved his hand. "Of course not. I'm afraid that if you have an attack again, I may not be able to withstand your stab." Xia Xiaochan smiled. "That's great." Han Fei, at the same time. Chapter 294. The Thug Academy. When Han Fei and the others came back, they found that the plantation was in full swing. Far away, they heard Zhang Xuanyu shouting, "Jia! Dan!" Then Lu Renkuang also shouted, "Wang Bang!" Han Fei and the others. Walking into the plantation, they saw Zhang Xuanyu, Lu Renkuang, and 2 girls playing cards. Han Fei even knew one of them. It was Hu Karen, who was taken away by Zhang Xuanyu. At this time, the faces of the 4 people were covered with leaves. Lu Renkuang's face was so covered that only his eyeballs could be seen. Han Fei coughed. "Ahem. You. What are you doing?" They turned around and were surprised to see Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan. They immediately stood up. Zhang Xuanyu hurriedly greeted them. "Fei, you're back. How was your experience this time?" With that said, Zhang Xuanyu looked up and down at Han Fei and the others, looking a little surprised. At the same table, Hu Karen and the other girl blushed. We should go back. It's time to cultivate." With that, the 2 girls swished past Han Fei and slipped away in the blink of an eye. Zhang Xuanyu asked with a smile, "Not bad. You've all become dangling fishers?" TSK. Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan have also become great fishing masters. It seems that the overall strength of our Thug Academy has risen to a higher level. Lu Renkuang snorted and picked the leaves off his face. "You're finally back. I don't want to play cards anymore." Xia Xiaochan asked, "Who are the 2 girls just now?" Zhang Xuanyu waved his hand quickly. Card partners. Han Fei said to him via voice transmission, "Card partners? Don't tell me the other one is also yours." Zhang Xuanyu immediately responded, "Nonsense. Am I the kind of person who has a foot in 2 boats? I passed through the school of fish and didn't touch a single scale. We're just pure mahjong buddies." Han Fei ignored Zhang Xuanyu with a black face and looked at Lu Renkuang. "Have you all made breakthroughs too? Why are you all playing cards here?" Lu Renkuang muttered, "We were waiting for you to come back. We made breakthroughs 3 days ago. Yesterday, when we just stabilized our realm, we were dragged here by this B***starred to play cards." Zhang Xuanyu hugged Lu Renkuang and said, "This is called relaxation. You can't just do whatever you want in life. If you cultivate, you'll become stupid." Han Fei turned around. "You guys continue playing cards, I'm going back." Xia Xiaochan glared at Zhang Xuanyu. As lazy as he was, he became a dangling fisher earlier than her. She really didn't know what to say. Lu Renkuang shouted behind him, "Hey, I'm coming. Han Fei, do you have any fresh seafood? Tonight, I'll give you a hand. Let's make a good meal." At night, at the dining table, Everyone gathered together. Wenren Yu was looking at Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan and couldn't help but ask, Chu Jinan, is your physique strong enough? Chu Jinan responded respectfully, Master, senior brother Han Fei said it's barely enough. Han Fei raised his head. Almost there. I'm stronger than ordinary peak-level fishing masters, but still far from those who specialize in physique. Xiao Zhan grunted. The Forbidden South's foundation is too weak. We can only catch up slowly. As long as he practiced hard in the realm of a great fishing master, it wouldn't be a problem in the later stage. But the 5 of you, when are you going to the level 3 fishery? The level 3 fishery? Han Fei blinked his eyes. Master, can you help me repair my boat? My fishing boat was smashed last time. It feels like it's about to fall apart. At this time, Old Bai sneered. Go to the Linglong Tower to buy it yourself. Your fish dragons have made so much money. Do you want to keep it? Han Fei shrugged slightly. Haha, what good things can the Linglong Tower have? Lu Renquang asked. President, we are in the level 3 fishery? Do we have to stay in the level 3 fishery for a whole year? Will we have a vacation during this period? Pooh! Old Bai almost choked and said angrily, What the F***CK? You're not allowed to come back for a year. Han Fei asked, President, what about the rules of the level 3 fishery? What's the rule of the level 3 fishery? Can you tell me more about it? Old Bai sneered. Ask Xiao Zhan about the specific rules. The level 3 fishery was a good place to practice. When you get there, there will be no teachers following you. If you can survive, you can basically graduate. But if you can't survive, humph. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. The first 3 brocade sachets were very difficult, one more difficult than the other. This time, although it was said that they were going to farm for a year, they were actually given a year to settle down. Although they had just become dangling fishers, they had reached the peak of their current stage in terms of combat power, temperament, and personal potential. And the key point of the 4th brocade sachet was the so-called level 3 fishery. The level 3 fishery was a nightmare for ordinary great fishing masters. The level 3 fishery was very complicated. At first, they thought that the level 2 fishery was very simple. At first, they thought that the level 2 fishery was very easy and they could easily traverse it. However, when they went there, they found that danger was everywhere. Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan listened silently and couldn't get a word in. However, they were secretly alarmed. Since entering the academy, they found that the higher they went, the more difficult it was to improve their strength. The stronger they were, the more difficult it was to improve their strength. Whether it was combat skills or fighting techniques, the difficulty was increasing. The difficulty level was increasing, and the demand for spiritual energy was also increasing. The two looked at each other, quite shocked. Now they could only fight some common or rare creatures in the level 2 fishery, and they had to fight together. But what about Han Fei and the others? They just came a year earlier than him, and now they were going to explore the level 3 fishery. The level 3 fishery. This progress was a bit fast. At night, Han Fei didn't go to Lu Renquang and the others to discuss the level 3 fishery. He didn't go to the level 3 fishery with them. What he needed now was the 4th level of the true spirit fishing art. He didn't find it in the library, so now he had to ask the principal for it. However, when he was still some distance away from the library, Han Fei saw Old Bai, Xiao Zhan, and Wenren Yu enter the library together. Why would the 3 of them go together? Han Fei was a little surprised. Usually, Old Bai slept in the library, and Xiao Zhan slept in his cottage on the hill. As for Wenren Yu, he usually didn't see her, which was very rare. It's already late at night. These 3 are still holding a party? Do they have any secrets? Immediately, Han Fei set up a breath-concealing array on himself. This was the first time he used the breath-concealing array. No matter whether it worked or not, he would be thrown out if he was seen through. Besides, who would use spiritual perception at home? Han Fei followed her quietly and hid in a corner of the library stealthily. A voice came from the library. Xiao Zhan asked, "Old Bai, those boys are going to the level 3 fishery. The level 3 fishery, shall we give them the map or not?" Wenren Yu immediately refused. "No, we can't give it to them. San, the level 3 fishery is different from the level 2 fishery. It has a territory of hundreds of thousands of kilometers, and there are no less than 1,000 dangerous places. Even if not all of them are marked on the map of our academy, they are not far from it. Should we give them the map and let them go? There's no one watching them. What if they really risk their lives and go on a journey?" Xiao Zhan disagreed. "But life and death are predestined. On the path of cultivation, who doesn't rely on opportunities to get ahead? Didn't we go through the same thing? How could we have the strength we have today if we hadn't been through so many dangerous places?" Wenren Yu retorted, "But some of the dangerous places on this map are not for them to set foot in at all. Knowing that they can't do it, they are stupid. Hey, don't you know that they, including Luo Xiaobai, are all very stupid? When they are hot-headed, they just rush into the dangerous places." Han Fei murmured, "Who is stupid? Who is stupid? Ms. Wenren, you have to be reasonable." But Old Bai interrupted, "What are you arguing about? San, the level 3 fishery was treacherous. All the geniuses of the 36 towns and even the people of the 1,000-star city went there to train, and there were countless dangling fishers. Don't give them this sea map. Let them fight with the heavenly talents in other towns first. Besides, there are so many dangerous places and they can run into several of them. Do you really think they won't run into them?" In the dark, Han Fei swallowed hard when he heard that. Ren Tianfei had also left a map for him. However, the terrain on that map was very complicated, and he only marked the place where he hid his treasures. As for other places, there was no mark at all. If he could get the map in Old Bai's hand, wouldn't it be easy to find the place where Ren Tianfei hid his treasures? Thinking of this, Han Fei was ecstatic. No matter what, he had to get this map. Han Fei thought to himself, "I don't care how many dangerous places there are. For me, one of the greatest treasures is the treasures left by Ren Tianfei. Think about it. Out of thousands of dangerous places, one of them belongs to you alone." This feeling was so wonderful that he could wake up laughing. When he fell asleep, Han Fei immediately released Little Black and Little White. "Little Black, look carefully where the map is. You must look carefully." At this moment, Xiao Zhan and Wenren Yu had received instructions from Old Bai and decided not to give Han Fei the map, so they also left. From beginning to end, the three of them didn't seem to notice Han Fei, which made Han Fei feel a little proud. It seemed that his array had improved a lot. It was a success. After a while, Old Bai also suddenly left. Han Fei's eyes lit up. Han Fei didn't dare to neglect it. He immediately went to steal the map. Little did he know, on a big tree 1,000 meters away, Old Bai and the other two were standing facing the library. Xiao Zhan asked, "Old Bai, did you hide it well? Don't let this kid go missing." Wenren Yu said, "Han Fei shouldn't be so stupid. If he can't even find a map, how can we expect him to explore the level 3 fishery?" "The level 3 fishery?" Old Bai sneered. "That kid is very cunning, but his breath-concealing array is really lousy. It's not as smart as his spirit-gathering array." After a while, Han Fei came out with a map and kissed it. What would he do if he found out that he had been fooled one day? Chapter 295. That night, Han Fei sneaked out and made several copies of the map. With the map in hand, the world was mine. At that moment, Han Fei felt that the whole world would be his. The next morning, Han Fei ran to the library. "President, get up, President!" "Soul calling?" Old Bai came out of the library angrily and said with a black face, "Why are you shouting here instead of making breakfast early in the morning?" Han Fei chuckled. "President, you have the 4th level of the true spirit fishing art. Is it illegal?" Old Bai said angrily, "Are you really going to practice the true spirit fishing art from scratch? We don't have much time. I'm most familiar with it. If I don't repair it, what should I repair? Old Bai took a deep look at Han Fei and returned to the library. After a while, he came out with 2 books and threw them to Han Fei. Old Bai said with mixed feelings, although the true spirit fishing art is a very common skill, but all the angling gong. But it's all based on this set of rules. The law was recompiled. These were the 4th and 5th layers. Fa, take it. President, what about the 6th floor? Where's Fa? Old Bai said lightly, I knew you would ask. The 6th floor was not common because it was not meant for ordinary people to have fun cultivating. Of course, some people like to collect unique copies. You may be able to find them in the 1,000-star city. As he spoke, Old Bai looked at Han Fei. However, I have to tell you that even the 1,000-star city doesn't have the part above the 7th level of the true spirit fishing art. So, change your gong as soon as possible. There's still time. Han Fei raised his eyebrows. It seemed that the higher the level, the more unusual the true spirit fishing art was. It was broken at the 6th level. Han Fei pondered for a moment. The deduction of the 4th level required 10 million points of spiritual energy. Wouldn't the 5th level require 100 million points? The 6th floor. Damn it. By the time he reached the 6th level, he would already be invincible in the 1,000-star city. Han Fei said with a smile, It's okay. I'll change the gongs when the time comes. It's from Fa. Han Fei left happily. While walking, he read the true spirit fishing art. A moment later, the 4th layer appeared in his mind. Existing gong, true spirit fishing art, incomplete. 4th realm. Hook technique, incomplete. Note: the first chapter of the ancient times, generality. Fa, after the passage of countless years, had long been incomplete, and it would cost 10 million points of spiritual energy to repair it. Deduction gong Noiki ** 4th realm. Killing hook art, completion rate. 0.10.000.000 inch Killing hook technique? Why isn't it a 1,000-mile fishing spell? Han Fei looked back. Existing gong, true spirit fishing art, incomplete. 5th level. So close, incomplete. Note: the first chapter of the ancient times, generality. Fa, after the passage of countless years, had long been incomplete, and it would cost 100 million points of spiritual energy to repair it. Deduction gong Noiki * level 5 void breaking technique completion rate. 100,000,000. Han Fei felt a headache. Sure enough, this was the 5th floor's gongzi. Just the deduction of Fa required 100 million points of spiritual energy. How the hell could I find so much spiritual energy in the sky? Han Fei smiled bitterly. The spiritual spring in the fire cloud cave was enough, right? It added up to no more than 20 million points of spiritual energy. That was to say, he had to get 5 of those spiritual springs for one deduction. Just as Han Fei was lost in thought, Zhang Xuanyu appeared out of nowhere, put his arm around Han Fei's shoulder and said, Fei, let me tell you, I got a treasure. Han Fei said uninterestedly, What treasure can there be in the town? Good treasures, they are all in the sea. Zhang Xuanyu chuckled. Are you stupid? We are going to the level 3 fishery. Don't you want to get a map of the level 3 fishery? A topographic map of the level 3 fishery? I spent 2,000 mid-quality pearls to buy it from him. There are hundreds of dangerous places marked on the map. Am I awesome? Han Fei's eyelids twitched and he looked at Zhang Xuanyu in astonishment. Damn it, should I tell you now? There are only 100 dangerous places on your map. There are thousands of dangerous places on my map. Am I bragging? Han Fei thought to himself, I'd better not tell this guy. Before he left, he would take out the map and make sure that his iron-headed fish eyes were blinded by it. Not far away, Xia Xiaochan and the others had already prepared their luggage. However, Han Fei's eyelids shivered when he saw them. Next to Lu Renquang, there was a 3-meter-sized pot. There were also all kinds of low-level spiritual fruits and seasonings, which filled the pot. Han Fei was lost for words. Are you going for an adventure or a vacation? Lu Renkuang chuckled. We'll be gone for a year. Of course I'll bring more. It's a pity that the space in my sea-swallowing seashell is not big enough, or I would have brought more. Han Fei was speechless. Do you think I'll believe you? You talk as if you have a sea-swallowing seashell. Luckily, I got a bigger sea-swallowing seashell from Sun Yi. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bothered with you. However, before Han Fei complained, he heard Xiao Zhan scolding from far away. Lu Renkuang, are you on vacation? Why don't you eat yourself to death? Lu Renkuang scratched his head and said pitifully, Not much. I guess it's only enough for a month. I have to eat sparingly. Otherwise, it'll be hard for me. Xiao Zhan was amused. Wait. Who told you that the teleportation array would teleport you to a place? Everyone was stunned. What did he mean? So, like the adventure in the fiery mountain, the teleportation array would teleport them to different places? Xiao Zhan said, The level 3 fishery is a dangerous place. If teleportation could really be done in a fixed direction, would I have waited until now to go? If teleportation could really be done in a fixed direction, I would have organized 1,000 people to go to the level 3 fishery. If they could really teleport, they could organize thousands of people to go through the SAN. Will there be opportunities for you to fight for? Lu Renkuang exclaimed, Huh? Then we won't be together? Xiao Zhan was speechless. Of course not. Xiao Zhan was speechless. Nonsense, of course not. San the level 3 fishery is a life and death experience for everyone. If teleportation could really be done in a fixed direction, do you think Ms. Wenren and I wouldn't go with you? Han Fei was also dumbfounded. It would be dangerous if they teleported separately. He admitted that he was not weak, but when the 5 professions cooperated, their comprehensive ability was perfect. After all, everyone had their own specialties. It was easier for them to cooperate. Wenren Yu also appeared. Looking at the hot pot ingredients on the ground, she couldn't help but shake her head. I forgot to tell you. San, although the level 3 fishery covers a territory of hundreds of thousands of kilometers, a lot of people from the 36 towns go there. Countless people are even resident in the level 3 fishery. It's not uncommon for people to kill each other for treasures in the level 3 fishery. Xiao Zhan then said, Apart from other adventurers and adventurers, the level 3 fishery is much more dangerous than the level 2 fishery. There, you have to deal with things on the water and underwater. Who will give you a chance to cook? Xiao Zhan paused. Besides, the level 3 fishery is much more dangerous than the level 2 fishery. There, you have to deal with things on the water and under the water. Who will give you a chance to cook? Xiao Zhan paused. Besides, the level 3 fishery is also open to the 1,000-star city. Anyone below the hanging fisher level can enter. So, Han Fei, since you killed Sun Yi, people from the 1,000-star city will definitely hunt you this time. Lu Renkuang was shocked. Then what should we do? Those people are very strong. Xiao Zhan snorted. What are you afraid of? San the level 3 fishery is so big. Do you think you can meet him just because you want to? Han Fei didn't think much of it. As long as it wasn't the kind of guy who could kill him with a single slap. A dangling fisher? I'm also a dangling fisher now. Just because I can't beat him doesn't mean I can't run away. Luo Xiaobai asked, Master, how can we meet? Wenren Yu shook her head. There's almost no way to meet unless we're extremely lucky. Of course, you may meet on the dragon boat. Maybe. Dragon boat? Seeing the confusion on everyone's faces, Wenren Yu shook her head. We didn't ask you to leave today. We have a class today. This class is dedicated to explaining to you about the SAN. The level 3 fishery needs to keep in mind. Xia Shaochan said slowly. I knew it wouldn't be so simple. Kuang, you picked your spirit fruit for nothing. Lu Renkuang said bitterly, It's so hard for me. Han Fei asked curiously, Master, what is a dragon boat? Xiao Zhan paced in front of them and said, Today, I want to tell you a few things that are related to life and death. Therefore, you must imprint it into my mind. First of all, that's San. The only safe zone in the level 3 fishery, we call it the dragon boat. The dragon boat is thousands of meters wide and tens of thousands of meters long. The dragon boat is San, the safe zone of the level 3 fishery. There, killing is forbidden. Adventurers can trade with each other, rest, and even hire people. Everyone was shocked. Han Fei exclaimed, Thousands of meters wide and tens of thousands of meters long? Master, don't brag. Xiao Zhan snorted coldly. Do you think I'm bragging? Han Fei swallowed. How King big is this ship? Isn't this a spaceship? Our fishing boats are all measured by meters. Oh my god, this dragon boat is calculated by kilometers. Xia Shaochan counted her fingers. More than 3,000 meters wide and 30,000 meters long. How big is this ship? Xiao Zhan sneered. Big? For example, this dragon boat in the San. There are as many as 100 in the level 3 fishery. Lu Renquang was dumbfounded. So many? Wenren Yu smiled. Not many. Compared to the vast San. 100 dragon boats are nothing. In the future, if you want to go back to the Blue Sea town, you will need to come back through the teleportation array on the dragon boat. Luo Xiaobai took a breath. Master, what about the dragon boat? Cell phone site. Chapter 296. Everyone was excited and ready to set off. But who would have thought that the difference between the level 3 fishery and the level 2 fishery was so big? Just the sight of the huge ship alone was enough to make everyone's hearts race. Wenren Yu said with a smile, The second point, in addition to the dragon boat, there is also a kind of ship in the level 3 fishery. There is another kind of boat in the level 3 fishery called the ghost boat. Ghost ship? Zhang Xuanyu exclaimed. The name didn't sound like a good word. Wenren Yu nodded. The so-called ghost ship is actually some ships that specialize in looting. Remember, no one you meet outside the dragon boat is a great fishing master. And most of the people who command the ghost ship are dangling fishers. They hide their fishing boats in their sea-swallowing seashells and launch a surprise attack when necessary. These people are extremely vicious and will do anything for treasure. You must be careful. If you encounter a ghost ship and can't escape, the right way is to abandon the boat. Luo Xiaobai asked, Were these people hiding underwater at first? Wenren Yu shook her head. Both are possible. They may also be in the sky. Xiao Zhan added, By the way, there is one thing that I must remind you of. Most of the people on the ghost ship are hired by the dragon boat. So, when you meet on the dragon boat, unless it's necessary or you don't trust them, don't hire them rashly. Everyone nodded. According to Xiao Zhan and Wenren Yu, the dragon boat should be a place where crooks and honest people mingled. After boarding the boat, they should be careful. Xia Shaochan asked, Then what if you have a conflict with someone on the dragon boat? Xiao Zhan asserted, Don't do anything. You can only take action after you leave the boat. Every dragon boat is guarded by a hanging fisher. Luo Xiaobai asked, A hanging fisher? Then what if a hanging fisher himself comes to make trouble? Xiao Zhan smiled and said, There are many people on the dragon boat. Once a hanging fisher makes a move, this person will definitely be found. Once it is found that a hanging fisher deliberately targets adventurers, he will be in trouble. So generally hanging fishers won't make a move. But after leaving the dragon boat, what if a hanging fisher comes to make trouble? Xiao Zhan was speechless. Do you think hanging fishers have nothing to do all day? The situation you mentioned does not exist. The hanging fishers on the dragon boat are not allowed to leave the boat at will. Otherwise, they'll trigger the ban on the dragon boat, and they'll all die. Han Fei breathed a sigh of relief. Better safe than sorry. After all, in the territory of a group of great fishing masters and dangling fishers, hanging fishers could be regarded as the strongest. If he really wanted to kill someone, it would be very difficult for ordinary people to escape. At this time, Old Bai walked over slowly and said to Xiao Zhan, "Don't worry about these things. Dragon boats and ghost boats, you've arrived at S3. The level 3 fishery would know. However, the most dangerous one was still San. The level 3 fishery itself." Wenren Yu nodded. Compared to dying in battle, for ordinary cultivators, the possibility of dying at the bottom of the sea is much higher. San, the level 3 fishery, is much more dangerous than the level 2 fishery. Zhang Xuanyu licked his lips and said, "But no matter how many people die, there will always be more people rushing over. These are all fortuitous encounters." Old Bai smiled and said, "Of course. As cultivators, if we don't go when we encounter a place of treasure, how can we talk about achieving anything? Of course, that's what you say, but I'm not asking you to blindly throw your lives away. There are some special places where you know you will die, so don't go." Lu Renquang muttered, "But we don't know which places we can't go." Old Bai scolded him with a smile. "When you arrive, you will naturally know which places are fatal." With that, Old Bai stretched out his hand and drove them away. "Let's go, you little rich people. This year, you have really made a lot of money, haven't you? Go buy a good fishing boat each. Don't be careless and it will sink." Luo Xiaobai said, "President, but it's useless to only have fishing boats without sea-swallowing seashells." As if he had expected that someone would say this, Old Bai took a few times out of his pocket. As a result, he took out 3 sea-swallowing seashells. Zhang Xuanyu's eyes immediately lit up. "Wow. President, you are so polite. How can I be so polite?" "Haha." Lu Renquang rubbed his hands. "President, you are the best." Xia Xiaochan wondered, "Why only 3? 4 of us don't have sea-swallowing seashells." Old Bai glanced at Han Fei. "Didn't you kill a boy from the Sun family? Where are your sea-swallowing seashells?" Han Fei blinked, feeling as if there were 10,000 ironhead fish rampaging in his heart. "That's my trophy. How can you just take it? Don't you feel embarrassed?" Xia Xiaochan stretched out her hand. "Then, I want Han Fei's." Han Fei said helplessly, "Fine. You're too old to know how to exploit me." Having said that, Han Fei still took out his sea-swallowing seashells and threw them to Xia Xiaochan, not taking it seriously. Old Bai sneered. "I exploit you? Don't you have any idea what you've done?" Han Fei panicked under the old man's gaze. "Has the fact that I stole the map been exposed? F***CK. Is this old man going to take it back?" Old Bai ignored him and said, "You already have sea-swallowing seashells and can afford fishing boats. What else do you need? Spiritual weapons?" Lu Renquang rubbed his hands and said in joy, "President, do you still want to give out spiritual weapons?" Han Fei was also taken aback. Isn't this too generous? Although to him, spirit tools were not important. However, if Old Bai wanted to give out spiritual weapons, he would gladly give them up. Xia Xiaochan's eyes lit up. "I want a dagger." "Show." "Humph." Old Bai scoffed. "You're all dreaming. Those who don't have spiritual weapons, raise your hands." Immediately, all 5 of them raised their hands. However, Lu Renquang and the others all looked at Han Fei, asking, "Why did you raise your hands?" Han Fei raised his head and said, "I need one too." Bm. A shoe kicked at him and Han Fei was kicked away. Old Bai cursed, "Get the hell out of here." Then Old Bai frowned and asked, "You didn't even get a spiritual weapon in the fiery mountain? Don't hide it. Do you need to hide a lousy weapon?" Zhang Xuanyu shook his head. "I didn't get one. In the Starfire Pavilion, I only got a magic rod." Bm. Zhang Xuanyu was also kicked and fell to the ground next to Han Fei, dumbfounded. Han Fei looked at him contemptuously. "Mr. President, you're right. Do you think a lousy rod is worth hiding?" Zhang Xuanyu trembled with anger. "It's better than your shamelessness. You have a whole set of spiritual weapons, and you shamelessly say that you don't have one." Old Bai asked, "Lu Renquang, you didn't get a spiritual weapon?" Lu Renkuang's eyelids twitched. I still need a sword. F***ck off. Hey! Everyone! Lu Renkuang ran to Han Fei and Zhang Xuanyu and sat down next to them. Han Fei. Zhang Xuanyu. Luo Xiaobai said, I picked a seed. Xia Shaochan said, I picked a power that can increase my speed. Behind her, Han Fei and the others looked at each other in bewilderment. Han Fei asked, You can pick speed too? Zhang Xuanyu was dumbfounded. There are seeds in the Star-Fire Pavilion? Are they going to be planted? Lu Renkuang shrugged. How do I know? There are so many stars, but I just picked a knife. Old Bai and Xiao Zhan both looked at Wenren. Wenren snorted. You two come to me at night. With that, Wenren threw a book to them and said, This is some common fish in the level 3 fishery. There are some common fishes in the level 3 fishery. Take them. The next day, the 5 of them were about to officially set off. Only Xiao Zhan, Wenren, Chu Jinan, and Ling Yuan came to see them off. Xiao Zhan said, 1 year later, I will wait for you at the school gate. Wenren threw a jade slip to each of the 5 of them and said, This is the method of self-explosion. The spiritual weapons in the level 3 fishery are worthless. If you encounter a life-and-death situation, self-explosion may save your life. Everyone was surprised. A method of self-explosion? Is there such a method? Wenren said, I hope you won't need it. Good luck. Luo Xiaobai said solemnly, Teacher, we're leaving. Han Fei said, Teacher, bye. I'll bring you some specialties when I come back. After they left, Xiao Zhan said to Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan indifferently, In the future, you will also embark on this path. But the premise is that you two also have to go to the level 2 fishery to gain experience. I'll give you half a year to prepare. Xiao Zhan went back. Chu Jinan scratched his head and said innocently, Ling Yuan, I'm a little panicked. Ling Yuan patted Chu Jinan's shoulder heavily. What are you panicking for? I'll protect you. On the way, they had just crossed the iron chain bridge. Han Fei suddenly burst into laughter. Come on, I have gifts for you. After a moment, Zhang Xuanyu roared at Han Fei. Zhang Xuanyu roared at Han Fei. I spent 2,000 mid-quality pearls on the map for nothing. Han Fei, you shameless guy, why didn't you tell me until now? I even showed it off in front of you. Cell phone site. Chapter 297. Starting the adventure again. Oh no. To be precise, for Han Fei and the others, this trip to the level 3 fishery should be regarded as an adventure. For some people, adventure was just adventure. For some people, adventure was just adventure. And the real strong would never be afraid of dangerous places. Ordinary fishermen were not afraid of life and death. The stronger they were, the more afraid they would be. Xia Shaochan changed into a new pair of daggers. In fact, she didn't lack daggers. Han Fei had made 2 shovels for her. However, the hunter was a creature that ate by. Just like armorists ate swords, shields, and armor, they could never have too many. And Luo Xiaobai had the first weapon in her life, a long whip, a spiritual weapon. It was a spiritual weapon, which was a good starting point. But even if Luo Xiaobai didn't use a spiritual weapon, she was still very powerful. At this moment, the 5 of them stood in front of the Linglong Tower. Luo Xiaobai said, As far as I know, the most expensive fishing boat in the Blue Sea town costs 100,000 mid-quality pearls each. However, in terms of quality, it's not as good as your white fishing boat. Han Fei was taken aback. Really? My boat is so valuable? Luo Xiaobai shook her head. It's not that your boat is valuable, but that your boat was made in the 1,000-star city. The material alone is better, but it's also ordinary in the 1,000-star city. However, such a fishing boat is rare in the Blue Sea town, so it's expensive. Han Fei shrugged helplessly. I just want to repair the boat. Suddenly, an idea flashed in Han Fei's mind. Am I F***king stupid or what? Although the boat in my hand is not refined, can't I refine one? Han Fei's breathing suddenly became rapid. If I find a lot of high-level materials and refine a spiritual-level fishing boat, wouldn't I be able to dominate the fishery without any restrictions? Buying a fishing boat didn't take much time. After saving money for more than a year, they were all local tycoons now. Han Fei, on the other hand, spent 100,000 mid-quality pearls without batting an eyelid. In the northernmost part of the Blue Sea town, this was an island that Han Fei and the others had never been to. Like the floating island where the Thug Academy was located, there were not many people coming and going on weekdays. However, no one who entered or exited this island was below the level of an advanced great fishing master. At the very center of the floating island was a huge building. The palace was magnificent, and it was surrounded by large pillars that were tens of meters tall. The pillars were engraved with seaweed relief carvings and fish and shrimp patterns. And in the building there is always a smell. The guang seeped out. In front of the building, dozens of advanced great fishing masters were reduced to guards, each holding a spear and wearing armor, standing solemnly. Han Fei and the others were just about to go in when two guards crossed their spears and stopped them. The teleportation fee in the Level 3 fishery is 5,000 mid-quality pearls per person. Everyone was stunned. So expensive? Just when they were still surprised that the fare was a little expensive, a familiar voice behind them said, "It's not expensive anymore. Sannon, the Level 3 fishery, danger and opportunity coexist. The teleportation fee is just a symbolic screening condition." Everyone looked back and saw that Li Hani and a dozen people had also come. Lu Renquang was furious. "Lin Xingmu, how dare you show up in front of me?" Lin Xingmu glanced at Lu Renquang. "We used to be enemies, but not anymore. San, the Level 3 fishery, has gathered many heavenly talents and adventurers from the 36 towns. You should have forgotten what happened before. We are now comrades." Lu Renquang said angrily, "Comrades? I don't have such a sinister comrade like you." Xiang Zuozhua curled her lips. "Fatty, didn't you just get stripped and hung up for a beating? Is there a need to hold a grudge?" "Shut up." Lu Renquang's face was dark. Looking at his angry face, Han Fei couldn't help but recall that battle. He wasn't there at that time and seemed to have missed a big show. Zhang Xuanyu said lazily, "Yo. They've all become dangling fishers. Not bad." Xiang Zuozhua snorted coldly, "Earlier than you guys. I heard that you guys only broke through in the past 2 days." Zhang Xuanyu didn't explain. "Head to the left. If you are beaten to tears in the Level 3 fishery, don't ask me for help." "Scram!" Luo Xiaobai said, "It's a random teleportation. The probability of encountering it is very small." Han Fei nodded. "Hopefully, we won't end up in Level 3. Encountering it in the Level 3 fishery. At that time, I don't know whether I should rob you or not." Li Hani said indifferently, "You can also have a try." In fact, there was no such thing as peaceful coexistence and harmonious win-win situation among cultivators. Anyway, Han Fei absolutely didn't believe that this group of people in front of him would become his allies in the future. After paying the toll, they entered the building. They saw a huge empty space, and in the center, a blue spiral channel was twisting. The black and blue color looked extremely weird. Han Fei sighed. "Is this the teleportation array?" Luo Xiaobai said lightly, "After entering, you will have to fight separately. Be careful." Zhang Xuanyu was speechless. "There is no safe place in the Level 3 fishery. How can I be careful?" Xia Shaochan said, "Just don't get yourself killed. I don't want to come back a year later only to find that you are gone." "A year later?" Next door, Li Hani and the others were stunned and looked at Han Fei and the others speechlessly. Li Hani was stunned. "You are going to stay for a year?" Xia Shaochan said proudly, "What's wrong? You can't even stay for a year. What's the point of practicing?" Everyone was speechless. "The people of the 4th Academy are really crazy." Lin Xingmu said, "Good luck. I hope I can still see you in a year." Lu Renkuang scoffed. What do you mean? Are you cursing us? Lin Xingmu smiled faintly. I didn't mean that. At this time, a guard in front of the teleportation array shouted in a low voice, Don't talk too much. After entering, remember to take out your fishing boat within 3 minutes. Everyone was shocked. Zhang Xuanyu patted Han Fei on the shoulder. See you inside. Luo Xiaobai said, Remember, don't wander around. Lu Renkuang added, Remember to come to the dragon boat to find me. Xia Xiaochan rolled her eyes. There are so many dragon boat. It's up to luck. Take care of yourselves. After saying goodbye to each other, Han Fei sighed in his heart. I'm going to start a treasure hunt alone again. However, he didn't think Xia Xiaochan and the others would have a problem. Especially Xia Xiaochan, even in the SAN when the level 3 fishery broke out, no one could control it. Whoever was caught would be killed. When Han Fei stepped into the teleportation array, he was surrounded by darkness and his body seemed to be pulled by some kind of force. After 3 minutes, his vision suddenly became clear, and Han Fei saw the huge towering clouds and the boundless sea at a glance. However, as far as he could see, there was no fishing boat above the sea thousands of meters below him. Damn, why is it in the sky? Han Fei quickly took out the fishing boat and controlled it to descend slowly. When the fishing boat descended to a height of 100 meters, Han Fei finally saw the scene of the sea clearly. The vast surface of the sea was like a smooth mirror. Even if the sea was rolling with waves several meters high at any time, it didn't affect the flawless purity. On the sea, fish jumped out from time to time. At this moment, Han Fei saw thousands of golden yellowfish jumping on the water. When that kind of fish jumped, their bodies were in a semi-arc like a crescent moon, which was very beautiful. At the moment they entered the water, they instantly straightened. Han Fei's face was full of a curious smile. Is this the crescent moon fish? Data flashed in his eyes. Crescent moon fish jumping like a crescent moon, faster than golden silkworms, spewing gung metal knife chi to fight enemies, swallowing moonlight to hone bones, and bones can be used to refine weapons. Level 31 Ordinary 484 points. Long-term consumption can improve spiritual power. Moon Bone. Han Fei was overjoyed. Finally, he saw new marine creatures. The level 3 fishery spanned hundreds of thousands of kilometers, and there were probably no less than 10,000 kinds of creatures. Ha ha! Treasures, Han Fei am coming. Mobile phone site. Chapter 298. Perhaps because he had come to a brand new environment, Han Fei felt that the air was full of novelty. The sky was as clear as jade, and the sea was as blue as jade. As far as the eye could see, it was full of freshness. Hardly had Han Fei landed the fishing boat on the surface of the sea when he heard cries from not far away. What's that sound? Han Fei poked his head out, only to see a few colorful fish, shaped like butterflies, covered in red and white, less than half a meter long, poking their heads out of the sea one after another. In Han Fei's eyes, humming fish. Common fishes mostly move in groups. Inedible, they emit a clear and melodious sound. Group skill, fish chirping around the boat. Their skulls can be used as musical instruments. Level 31 Ordinary, 462 points. Inedible, sound skull. Han Fei found it incredible that there was such a strange fish. Not only can they make sounds, but their heads can also be used as musical instruments? That's amazing! These humming fish didn't seem to be afraid of people. Seeing Han Fei poking his head out, they also began to gather. They were like a group of curious babies, looking at Han Fei curiously with their big watery eyes and making sounds. At first, there were only 2 or 3 of them, and they were relatively scattered. However, because Han Fei didn't attack them at all, more and more humming fish swam over. After a while, hundreds of humming fish appeared in front of Han Fei. At first, Han Fei thought these humming fish were very cute. However, when thousands of humming fish gathered, they were not cute at all. At this moment, Han Fei only felt a headache and his head was full of sounds. Han Fei picked up the fishing rod, poked a few humming fish, and pressed their heads into the water. But as soon as the fishing rod was retracted, the humming fish emerged again and made a more fierce sound at Han Fei. F***ck. Go away, all of you go away. Inging your sister. Han Fei threw the fishing rod and made a splash in the water, scaring a group of humming fish away. Looking at the humming fish running away, Han Fei laughed. It turns out to be a group of timid fish. Well, Han Fei was not in a hurry to fish. He took out 2 fish skin maps and was proofreading them. In the end, before he could open the map, he heard the sound of sobbing again. F***ck. Didn't I drive him away? Why are you still crying? Han Fei craned his head to take a look, only to find that the side of the fishing boat was covered with dense humming fish. This time, the humming sound was louder and louder. Han Fei looked around the fishing boat, only to find that it was surrounded by humming fish. Those guys crowded together, head to head, and opened their mouths to moan at the fishing boat. Han Fei was dumbfounded. Get lost. I don't have time to play with you. Han Fei took out his rod and stirred around the fishing boat, and the fish retreated again. But before Han Fei sat down again, these F***king shameless guys came again. You're courting death. Han Fei was speechless. Are you crazy? If San the level 3 fishery was full of these annoying things, how could he embark on this adventure? When a humming fish after the kill, to Han Fei's surprise, the scene became chaotic. These humming fish began to flop and jump on the sea. The key to the problem was not the riot of the humming fish, but their sound. It seemed to be magical. In Han Fei's ears, it was like a 3D external loop, rising and falling. After a while, the sea was shaking. The intermittent trembling of the sea caused by the high-frequency sound caused Han Fei's fishing boat to shake violently, as if the boat was equipped with a large motor. The sound wave came from the outside. Han Fei felt as if his head was pricked by needles and began to hurt. Million Knife Art Kill. As the blue sea wandering dragon daggers shuttled in the sea, Han Fei even summoned the 9-tailed mantis shrimp, and the 9-star chain stirred crazily in the sea. In just a moment, a large number of humming fish were minced. Han Fei thought, this should be enough to scare them away, right? However, in less than a moment, the humming sounded again. Humming, humming, Han Fei's face fell. He was very angry. I just came to the level 3 fishery. I encountered a group of problematic fish in the level 3 fishery. Who wouldn't have a headache? Humming my ass. Han Fei didn't even look at the map and directly chose to fly the fishing boat. Okay, you're awesome. You win. I can't mess with them, but I can hide from them. This was the first time that Han Fei had encountered something that he couldn't deal with at all. The point was that he couldn't deal with these fish. After flying for more than 500 kilometers in one breath, Han Fei let the fishing boat land again. Fortunately, this time he didn't encounter terrifying fish like the humming fish as soon as he fell into the water. Han Fei held the fishing rod in his hand and waved it out with a swish. Han Fei didn't continue to look at the map but wanted to see the situation underwater. After all, the environment was too strange, and the fish here were all above level 30. It was better to explore it first. Although he had to continue to be reckless, he had to be careful. After a year of accumulation, Han Fei had completed the 3rd small piece of the puzzle. Han Fei had already completed the 3rd small piece of the puzzle. And this was because he spent most of his time studying arrays. And this was because he had spent most of his time studying formations. His perception range would probably exceed 500 meters at this moment. Underwater, the fish hook had just been lowered, and what came into view were some finger-long strips of shellfish. Under the water, the fish hook had just been lowered, and what came into view were some finger-long strips of shellfish. He didn't need the demon purification pot to check the information. He had read these basic creatures in the book given to him by Wenren Yu. These shellfish were called razor clams, but they were not the kind of razor clams that were buried in the soil. This kind of shellfish, seemingly small and low-level, was actually a level 10 creature. Once they encountered danger, thousands of razor clams would gather and turn into a huge stone. Once they encountered danger, thousands of razor clams would gather together and turn into a huge rock. Then, Han Fei saw some palm-sized shrimps. These shrimps had a bow-shaped body, but there were 2 tentacles nearly half a meter long in front of their foreheads. These shrimps had bow-shaped bodies and 2 tentacles that were nearly half a meter long in front of their forehead. This was the red-browed shrimp. When it swam, the 2 red-browed whiskers danced in the water, which was very beautiful. In addition to the red-browed shrimp, there were some ordinary creatures such as butterfly starworms, snowflake snails, gluttonous fish, and so on. Because there were too many species, Han Fei only recognized a few and didn't bother to distinguish them. The first thing Han Fei did was to simply put the hook into the water and try to test the depth of the seawater. However, the hook soon dived 500 meters without touching the bottom of the sea. On the other hand, many large fish appeared in the surroundings, the main threat to the level 3 fishery. When the hook was 800 meters deep, Han Fei reached the bottom. Wow, just a random place is more than 800 meters deep. Come to think of it, in the level 3 fishery, the depth of 1,000 meters should be the norm. Han Fei was thinking about the depth of the water when he saw a big fish about 5 meters long swimming past him. Black moon sicklefish? It was a fish that was a mixture of black, yellow, and white. Its body was vertical and flat, and its mouth was like a bird's beak. Its back was different from other fish. Other fish had dorsal fins, but this fish's dorsal fin was a sickle-shaped curved blade that was extremely sharp. Seeing this fish, the first thing that came to Han Fei's mind was the horned sicklefish. The two were very similar, except that the black moon sicklefish was dozens of times larger than the horned sicklefish. With a thought, the fish hook and the fishing line turned into water veins and disappeared. Then, he approached the black moon sicklefish with the slithering snake method. But when Han Fei activated flash hook and thousand twining, the black moon sicklefish swooshed dozens of meters away. F***CK. Is this fish so smart? While Han Fei was surprised, the black moon sicklefish suddenly flashed by and slashed the fishing line with the sickle on its back. Han Fei was shocked. I've already hidden the fishing line with the water vein technique. How did this guy find out? However, how could Han Fei do as it wished? My fishing rod is a spiritual weapon. Do you think you can break it? Just as the sickle on the back of the black moon sicklefish slashed across the fishing line, the thousand twining silk was instantly activated. However, the fish was too big. The thousand twining silk had only wrapped around it once, and before it could bind it, it slipped away with a swish. Interesting. No wonder they said that the fish in the level 3 fishery are quite smart. Now it seems that they are really smart. Han Fei was not discouraged. It was just a fish that ran away. He could catch it again. So, Han Fei changed his action strategy. I can't catch fish by force, but I can't fish by traditional fishing either. The fish hook of the blue sea wandering dragon rod turned into a spiritual energy fish, the length of a forearm, which was controlled by Han Fei to pretend to look for food in the sand and stones at the bottom of the sea. Based on what Han Fei sensed, no less than 30 kinds of creatures were interested in the spiritual energy fish. Haha, a fish is a fish. Do you want to play tricks with me? Chapter 299. Han Fei just wanted to explore the depth of the sea, but who knew that in the end, he would encounter this monster. The fishes in the level 3 fishery began to fight. At this moment, Han Fei was controlling the spiritual energy fish to escape. He wanted to drill into the seabed crevices, but he deliberately slowed down. On the sea, Han Fei chuckled. I don't believe that you won't take the bait, Han Fei was grinning. However, his smile didn't last more than 10 seconds before his face darkened. At the bottom of the sea, Han Fei was still happily controlling the hook. In the end, a pair of pincers suddenly emerged from the soil. The seawater suddenly became muddy, and his fish hook was caught by some shrimp. Han Fei was unhappy. "I'm fishing. Why the hell are you getting involved?" However, as soon as the fish hook was caught, Han Fei immediately tied up the lobster's pincers with the 1,000 twining silk. Rise. The fishing rod was bent, and the rapidly retracting fishing line made a muffled sound at the bottom of the sea. The other fish that were going to sneak up on the spiritual energy fish fled one after another. A moment later, a wide-tailed prawn broke out of the water. The moment it broke through the water, dozens of thorns shot out like arrows. Han Fei didn't stop them and simply let the thorns fall on his body, making clinking noises. "Hey! Don't blame me, you're the one who delivered yourself to me." Dozens of blue sea wandering dragon daggers pierced into the belly of the lobsters. In the blink of an eye, the shrimp was frozen on the spot. Data appeared in Han Fei's eyes. Anopheles, a common type of shrimp. It has a fierce nature and is often buried in sand and stones to ambush its prey. It has 11 prawn thorns on its body, and can be used to refine weapons. Level 32 Ordinary 502 points. Long-term consumption can strengthen chi and blood. Prawn bone. Han Fei knocked on the shrimp shell. This thing was different from crayfish and mantis shrimp. Its body was no more than 3 meters long, and its butt was especially wide. Its head, on the other hand, seemed a little small, and its pair of pincers grew under its abdomen. The reason why he was able to take it down so easily was because its pincers were tied up. Han Fei clicked his tongue in wonder. There were all kinds of strange things in the world. He wondered how the lobster meat tasted. Han Fei immediately threw it into Forge the Universe, but as soon as he threw it in, it happened to be thrown on the extremely cold stone and was frozen into an ice sculpture in the blink of an eye. "Didn't I give this stone a box? Doesn't it work?" With that thing, everything in Forge the Universe would be frozen into ice sculptures. Han Fei had refined a small box with the bones of the blue sea wandering dragon and put the stone in it. But at this moment, he realized that within 3 meters of the box, frost had started to form. "This stone is a bit strange. I wonder if Forge the Universe will explode if I put it together with the fire source crystal in the Fire Cloud Cave?" Han Fei smiled casually. He now had 2 strange stones, and he didn't know when they would come in handy. He placed the box of fire element crystals in front of the extremely cold stone, and the frost gradually faded a little. After doing this, Han Fei was not in a hurry to go fishing. Even if he caught all those fish, it wouldn't make much sense for him now. Even those rare fish, even if they were a little useful, would not be of much use. Immediately, after exploring the situation on the bottom of the sea, Han Fei put away the fishing rod and took out the 2 maps again. Ren Tianfei's map was relatively shallow and seemed to draw the level 3 fishery. There were no obvious landmarks in the level 3 fishery, so it was difficult to distinguish them. Old Bai's map, on the other hand, was comprehensive. There were thousands of dangerous places, and there were thousands of dangerous places. Every dangerous place was marked with a small dot. A small part of it was even written with a name. Han Fei's eyes glanced back and forth between the 2 maps from time to time. "Ren Tianfei, you old bastard, don't you know how to draw? What the hell is this? When people play Let's Find Fault, they all look for differences. But I'm going to find the same point from these 2 almost completely different maps." Han Fei pressed his finger on Old Bai's map, moving his finger horizontally across the points one by one, while muttering, "Seaborne Prairie, Purple Tree Jungle, 2-Line Rock, Undersea City, 10,000 Smoke Valley." Suddenly, Han Fei rubbed his eyes and seemed to have discovered something. On Old Bai's map, he saw the origin of a place called Abyssal Chasm. Because this place was a chasm, it was a symbol of a chasm. And on Ren Tianfei's map, Han Fei also found a similar chasm. The direction is fixed. Han Fei looked excited. How difficult it was to find a dangerous place in the sea of hundreds of thousands of kilometers. But as long as the general direction was fixed, it was only a matter of time before he found it. Following the mark of abyssal chasm, Han Fei explored to the northwest corner. He roughly calculated the scale of the map, only to be stunned. F***ck. No one said that the level 3 fishery is so big. How big is this level 3 fishery? Isn't this scale drawing nonsense? Han Fei looked at the map and complained. In the end, he gave himself a range, roughly somewhere between 20,000 and 50,000 kilometers away from the abyssal chasm. At that time, Han Fei put away the map and looked up at the sky at a 45-degree angle. He was very depressed. According to the map, I have to search nearly 10,000 miles. Are you sure you're not messing with me? The ordinary fishery was only a few thousand kilometers, and there were hundreds of dangerous places. Here. In the level 3 fishery, the square inch on the map was tens of thousands of kilometers. If the danger zones were to be divided by terrain and region, there would probably be thousands of danger zones in a small area. Han Fei roared, "Ren Tianfei, you old B***starred, I'll definitely hammer you to death when I see you in the future." Just as Han Fei finished shouting, there was a loud bang, and the sound of water breaking could be heard. Immediately afterward, a shadow of a sledgehammer tens of meters in size smashed at him. F***ck. I'm kidding. Han Fei was dumbfounded. I'm just kidding. Why the F***ck are you serious? Han Fei's hand flashed, and the water-stirring seal was launched. A shadow also tens of meters in size emerged, and the two collided with each other, causing a metal and stone roar. Rumble, Han Fei and the fishing boat moved sideways for more than 10 meters. Before Han Fei could stand still, a long spear broke out of the water. The shadow of the spear was like a dragon, and the cold light was breathtaking. Clang! Han Fei held the water-stirring seal and hit it with his palm. But under this blow, Han Fei heard a crack, and there was another crack on the water-stirring seal. In an instant 2 figures emerged from the water. Oh no, to be precise, there were 3. Just when Han Fei was sent flying, the void was torn open, and a sharp blade fell. A hunter? Han Fei immediately put away the water-stirring seal. 2 blue-sea wandering dragon daggers appeared in his hands, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Come on, let's stab each other. When it comes to stabbing people, I've only been afraid of one person so far. Of course, Han Fei was talking about Xia Shaochan. This was the truth. When it came to stabbing people, he hadn't found anyone more persistent than Xia Shaochan. This hunter seemed very disdainful and didn't think Han Fei could stab him. So, 2 daggers, the daggers were directly stabbed. At the moment when they almost touched Han Fei's body moved slightly. The daggers should have been stabbed in the chest. But the daggers were stabbed in the shoulder, and Han Fei's blue-sea wandering dragon daggers directly stabbed into his abdomen. In the next second, there was a muffled groan in the air, and a vague figure seemed to want to retreat. Want to leave now? It's too late. Attach. Swish, 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 the 9-star chain was about to be launched. Immediately, it wrapped around the already injured hunter, but suddenly a green vine shot out of the water and directly dragged the person away. The vine snatched the person away from Han Fei's hands. At this moment, Han Fei had a sledgehammer under him and a spear on his side. Ignoring the hunter, nearly 30 blue-sea wandering dragon daggers darted out in an instant, and the 9-star chain also took the opportunity to buckle the bow of the boat and drag him into the air. Bim, clank, clank, clank. Han Fei landed on the deck of the bow, and the 2 people who attacked him were also pulled away by the vines. In an instant, a round of fighting was over. In the next moment, a small fishing boat appeared on the sea more than 10 meters away. Han Fei waved his hand, and the blue-sea wandering dragon daggers flew back and instantly disappeared into his body. The 4 people on the opposite side were stunned. They couldn't help but be shocked. A guy who had just become a dangling fisher easily blocked the sneak attack of 3 people and even injured one of them in a flash. How could they not be shocked? Han Fei narrowed his eyes at this moment. Is this the ghost ship that the teacher mentioned? I've just arrived and I already ran into it? But these people are really strong. At the moment of the attack just now, I almost didn't react. And whether it is strength or cooperation, they can't be underestimated. Even if I make a slight mistake just now, I will face a more stormy attack from the opponent. At this moment, there were 4 people standing on the bow of the opponent's boat, 3 men and 1 woman. One of them, a thin young man, was covering his lower abdomen at the moment. Obviously, he was the hunter just now. Han Fei said with a smile, "Guys, what do you want?" Chapter 300. On the surface of the sea, the atmosphere between the 2 fishing boats was slightly weird. The sea breeze blew gently and the 2 sides just stood facing each other. For Han Fei, it didn't matter that the other side had more people. This was his first time here. Although he had to be careful, it was not easy for him to meet someone. If he could capture the other party and ask for some information, it would not be a bad thing. The 4 people on the ghost boat were in a state of hesitation. They were in the ghost boat business. If they failed, they should retreat immediately. This was the law of the Level 3 fishery. The iron law of the Level 3 fishery. However, Han Fei was only one person, but he had dozens of spiritual weapons, which really made them jealous. Seeing that the other side didn't speak, Han Fei asked again, "Guys, why didn't you say anything after you beat him?" After a moment of silence, the man holding a spear said, "Boy, you are indeed very strong, but you are only one person after all." Seeing that the other side didn't speak, Han Fei asked again, "Guys, why didn't you say anything after you beat him up?" After a moment of silence, the man holding a spear said, "Boy, you are indeed very strong, but you are only one person after all." Ha ha ha, Han Fei laughed out loud. "No. Don't mind me. I couldn't help it. You want me to hand over 10 spiritual weapons to you?" The man holding a spear frowned, feeling that this boy was too arrogant. Did he have something up his sleeves? However, the burly man with the hammer snorted and said, "You're just one person. Once you run out of spiritual energy, you'll die here. Once you run out of spiritual energy, there is no place for you in this Level 3 fishery. If you know what's good for you, hand them over." Han Fei grinned. "Are you sure you are really a ghost boat operator? Did I come to the wrong place? People say that ghost boat operators are extremely dangerous. I think you are really silly." The 4 people's faces all changed slightly. "This boy is so arrogant." The hunter said to them, "Don't underestimate him. This boy is very strong. He should be an excellent soul warrior in a certain town." The female manipulator behind him also said, "His contractual spiritual beast is also very extraordinary. It has strong combat ability and control ability." The man holding a spear was expressionless. "Let's retreat first and wait for a good opportunity." In the end, the 4 people didn't dare to be careless and chose to retreat for the time being. In the Level 3 fishery. In a place like the Level 3 fishery, there was no such thing as young or old, but only the strong and the weak. Because they couldn't figure this out, countless people had been killed. The Level 3 fishery. In fact, there was even a law here. The younger one was, the more terrifying they were. Anyone who comes to San Francisco at a young age. Everyone in the Level 3 fishery was a heavenly talent. If they failed to kill such a person, the consequences would be terrifying. Retreat. Han Fei planned to confront the opponent for a while longer, only to find that the opponent's fishing boat disappeared in an instant. The 4 of them dove into the sea almost at the same time. They didn't even prepare to fight and immediately escape. "Damn, are you that afraid of death?" Han Fei couldn't care less. "You can come and go as you please. Where do you put me?" After that, he put away the fishing boat and jumped into the sea. These people were just junior dangling fishers. If these people could live in San, he could also escape from the water of the level 3 fishery. At the bottom of the sea, Han Fei was speechless. He was only slightly slower than them by a breath's time, but the people in front of him had already run hundreds of meters away. Buzz, Han Fei didn't even cover his body with a spiritual energy protective cover and directly used the shadow swimming art to catch up. I won't let you run. You want to run after beating me? There was no such logic in the world. Han Fei's speed was very fast. It could be said that Zhang Xuanyu, who had the golden water silkworm, could only be as fast as Han Fei. Of course, he couldn't be compared with Xia Xiaochan, a hunter who lived on speed. Han Fei didn't attach himself to Little Gold. He moved in the sea and even had time to avoid some fish that pounced on him. In front of him, the 4 people all changed their expressions. Why did this guy catch up? We're in the ghost boat business. Can't you give us some face? Han Fei said to them via voice transmission, "Don't run. I still have a lot of questions to ask you. This business of yours is not meticulous at all. How can you abandon your customers so easily?" The 4 people's faces were all black. Who the hell did we rob? Isn't he too stubborn? Han Fei continued to say, "Hey, you can run, but can you answer a few questions for me first? Do you know where the abyssal chasm is?" Han Fei really just wanted to ask some questions. After all, these people were not weak at all if he really wanted to kill them. If they fought desperately, they might even hurt him. But unexpectedly, when the words abyssal chasm came out, the 4 people's speed suddenly soared and they seemed to be running desperately. Han Fei was speechless. Did I say something wrong? When Han Fei wanted to chase them again, he found that the 4 people had started to run separately. Am I so scary? Do I need to run separately? However, Han Fei didn't hesitate and chased after the female manipulator. The reason was very simple. Manipulators were fragile. Even if he met Xia Xiaochan and the other 3 people, if he had to choose one to chase, he would definitely choose Luo Xiaobai. Therefore, Han Fei's choice was very clear. After chasing for dozens of kilometers, Han Fei was about to catch up with the other party, but suddenly found that the manipulator was leading him to a school of fish. A string of data flashed in Han Fei's eyes and he was speechless. Is this woman looking for death? Spiky turtle, a common fish, wearing hard armor with 3 spines on its back, which can be retracted, released, and controlled. It can be used to refine weapons. Level 32 ordinary 512 points long-term consumption can enhance chi and blood. Black Thorn. Han Fei said to her via voice transmission, "Hey, don't court death. I won't kill you, okay? I really just want to ask you a few questions." But as soon as Han Fei said this, the woman suddenly disappeared with a swish. F***ck, Han Fei was speechless. It's all a trap. This woman is playing tricks on me. She actually has some kind of mysterious escape method and has been prepared for this long ago. Bm. Han Fei suddenly crashed into a school of spiky turtles. At that moment, thousands of steel, all like black thorns, stabbed at Han Fei. At that moment, Han Fei felt that there were tens of thousands of iron-head fish galloping in his heart. There are so many tricks in the level 3 fishery. Blade Storm. Han Fei immediately held 2 knives in his hands, and dozens of blue sea wandering dragon daggers surrounded him, forming a small storm in the school of spiky turtles, trying to force a way out. But even so, there were still countless sharp thorns piercing Han Fei's body. Although they couldn't break his defense, it hurt. After struggling for half an hour, Han Fei finally ran out of this group of spiky armor fish. His whole body was bruised. At this moment, the female manipulator was nowhere to be seen. She had long run out of sight. Han Fei's face was black. Okay. Don't let me see you again. If I meet you again, I'll kill you. Han Fei's body gradually became illusory. Although the semi-stealth effect of the mist grass was not as good as the stealth effect of the hunter, it could at least avoid nearly half of the fish in the sea. Han Fei was not in a hurry to return to the sea. Now that he had come down, He might as well stay a little longer. In the past, he had been rampaging in the Level 2 fishery. Now he was back. How could he not explore the Level 3 fishery? When Han Fei dived to about 500 meters, several black shadows swooshed at him in the gloomy water. Han Fei held the blue sea wandering dragon daggers and slashed at them heavily. However, as soon as they collided, with a harsh muffled sound, he was knocked flying. What a strong force! When another black shadow rushed over, Han Fei's eyes widened. It was a kind of alien that almost merged with the darkness. Anti-Heaven Blade, its whole body was pitch black, blades were extremely sharp, and it had a rotating special skill, rolling blade technique. Level 34 Rare 1, 064 point strengthens physique. Enhances the strength of the spiritual energy protective cover rolling blade. Han Fei was shocked. The strength of the spiritual energy protective cover can be enhanced by eating fish? Looking at the anti-heaven blade fish that continued to shuttle over and spin its blades, Han Fei immediately filled the blue sea wandering dragon daggers with spiritual energy and instantly waved a dazzling knife light. Poochie! Crack, with the sound of a knife breaking, the anti-heaven blade was chopped into 2 pieces by Han Fei. Han Fei grabbed it and threw it into Forge the Universe. Not far away, when the other anti-heaven blades saw this scene, they suddenly turned around and fled in all directions. Han Fei was speechless. Are the fish here really so smart? Your companion was killed by me. You don't even have the slightest desire for revenge? Don't you have any? Chapter 301. The anti-heaven blade was similar to the blade fish in the ordinary fishery. However, this kind of fish was even more mysterious. They lived in the water 500 meters below sea level and seemed to like the dark, so their whole body was black and it was extremely difficult to find them in the water. Han Fei continued to dive. So far, he had seen no less than a dozen kinds of creatures, and most of them ran away as soon as they saw Han Fei. And he hadn't reached the bottom of the sea yet. For the ocean, the most dangerous place was not necessarily in the water, but at the bottom of the sea. There were a lot of reefs and sand scattered there, and no one knew where the enemy was hiding, which was the most dangerous place. On the way down, Han Fei killed another 2 anti-heaven blades before he landed steadily. When Han Fei was only 10 meters away from the bottom of the sea, he looked around and couldn't help but be shocked. Unlike spiritual perception only had a range of 250 meters, and vision could reach farther. Han Fei saw a lot of reefs and the wreckage of a sunken ship not far away. In addition, there were a lot of blue corals standing on the bottom of the sea. Han Fei was sure that they were definitely corals, but they were darker in color. Perhaps because the water was too deep, or perhaps because of other reasons, there were not many colors of corals here. Even if a small number of other colors were mixed in, the overall color was dark, giving a feeling of depression. Because there were more reefs, there was naturally a lot of seaweeds. Although they were somewhat sparse, they were not few in number. They all occupied a small area in clumps. There were blue glowing sea anemones, and countless tentacles were floating in the seawater. The tentacles that looked like straws were sucking the dust floating in the seawater from time to time. Suddenly, Han Fei's expression changed, and he saw that a long bone was floating above the sea anemones. White bonefish. This is a transparent fish that likes to eat sea anemones. When it is attacked, its bone can be separated from its body, and it can break magic weapons with one slash. Level 34 Rare 1, 082 points. Long-term consumption can strengthen blood. White bone. Han Fei wasn't scared. A fish that ate grass wouldn't attack him, would it? Sure enough, the white bone fish gradually retreated, its figure slowly disappearing into the darkness. But soon after the white bone fish retreated, Han Fei suddenly glanced not far away. It was an empty water area, where countless light spots were flickering and drifting. Fallen leaf starfish? Han Fei secretly relaxed. It was a starfish that could teleport, just like Xia Xiaochan's flash. These starfish seemed to be born with this ability. The fallen leaf starfish was a migratory starfish and did not like to stay in one place for too long. Most of its food was plankton. This was also the reason why Han Fei was not worried. Otherwise, when so many fallen leaf starfish floated by, he would be a little frightened. Because the fallen leaf starfish had a close relative called the withered leaf starfish. Starfish in the level 3 fishery. The dead leaf starfish could be said to be an extremely terrifying creature in the level 3 fishery. They were small and didn't have much attack power. However, when they landed on a person's body, they would absorb the person's life force, causing the person to age rapidly. Of course, the dead leaf starfish's target was not just humans. It's a Sanin the level 3 fishery. Many creatures were unwilling to touch starfish. Except for a fish called the scavenger, they have almost no natural enemies. Han Fei was half invisible, waiting for the fallen leaf starfish to drift by. From time to time, a few fallen leaf starfish bumped into him and then sucked him tightly. In desperation, Han Fei could only run to the bottom of the sea. Otherwise, after a while, his body would be covered with fallen leaf starfish. However, just when Han Fei was about to approach the seabed, a long worm suddenly jumped out of the sand, which really gave Han Fei a fright. Shit, at that moment, Han Fei only had time to activate the spiritual energy protective cover. Unfortunately, the spiritual energy protective cover didn't work in the level 3 fishery. The spiritual energy protective cover didn't seem to work in the level 3 fishery. With just one blow, the spiritual energy protective cover was directly broken. Han Fei's feet were buckled by the long worm and he was dragged into the sand desperately. Damn, what the hell is this? The blue sea wandering dragon daggers shot out and the snow silver rod was held in Han Fei's hand, stabbing into the sand. But the long worm was waving, trying to tear Han Fei apart and drag him into the cave. Han Fei looked down and almost peed himself. What the hell is this? Isn't it too disgusting? Han Fei was shocked to find that this thing didn't have a head, or its head was in its stomach. It attacked him in an instant just now, so its head turned out of its stomach. Because there was a circle of wrinkles around its head that reflected inward, Han Fei recognized it. Of course, this big worm was not only horrible. Han Fei's legs had been swallowed into the head of this big worm, and he felt that many tentacles seemed to want to pierce his skin. More importantly, the physique that Han Fei was proud of seemed to be about to be pierced, which scared him greatly. Damn it! Is the level 3 fishery so dangerous? The 30 blue sea wandering dragon daggers instantly strangled the worm, and the sound of puffing kept coming out. Han Fei finally pulled his feet out and then he was dozens of meters away from the big worm. Only then did Han Fei have time to check the information of this big worm. Mess-swallowing worm, omnivorous giant worm. When there is a lack of food, it will even eat its own kind. Often buried in the sand, the adult mess-swallowing worm is up to 30 meters long, with sharp barbs in its body, and each joint is a ring of knives. There is a devoured pearl in its body, which can enhance its speed. Level 36 Rare 1, 316 points inedible devoured pearl. Seeing this introduction, Han Fei's eyes widened. This worm is 30 meters long? Han Fei immediately summoned the 9-tailed mantis shrimp and dragged out the body of the mess-swallowing worm with the 9-star chain. However, the longer he dragged it, the more shocked he became. This worm was really more than 30 meters long, or even more than 30 meters long. Han Fei shuddered at the sight of this. Oh my God! Han Fei swallowed and finally saw the body of this mess-swallowing worm. It was nearly 30 meters long and half a meter wide. There were countless small joints on its body, and there was a joint almost every 1 or 2 centimeters, which looked much more disgusting than a centipede. Suddenly, Han Fei thought of the bobbit worm, the weird undersea hunter. He once heard that there was a guy who raised fish in his big fish tank. However, after a while, he found that the fish and coral in the fish tank were constantly decreasing. Finally, after observing day and night, he found that the bobbit worm was a magical species. This thing was nocturnal and came out at night. Its attacks were as fast as lightning. Once caught by this thing, there was almost no way to escape. The most important thing was that the bobbit worm was also 2 or 3 meters long. You're AF * kingworm. You're 2 to 3 meters long. Isn't that scary? At this moment, in Han Fei's eyes, this mess-swallowing worm was countless times more ferocious than the bobbit worm. This worm seemed to be dozens of times bigger, and could be regarded as an extra-large strengthened version of the bobbit worm. Han Fei cut open the carapace of the mess-swallowing worm with a knife. Cracking sounds kept coming from the worm's body, which was the sound of joints being broken. It was not until Han Fei found a small black bead that he kicked the mess-swallowing worm away. "Bastard, how dare you eat me? Do you think you're so great just because you have a big mouth?" Han Fei washed the little black bead slightly, threw it directly into his mouth, and swallowed it. This swallowed bead was good for increasing speed. If he had a lot of swallowed beads, maybe he could be faster. After almost being dragged into the hole by the mess-swallowing worm, Han Fei didn't dare to stay on the sand anymore, but floated dozens of meters above the sand. Han Fei scanned with his spiritual energy and found that there were as many as 8 mess-swallowing worms hidden within 250 meters of him. Good heavens, this really gave him a fright. In addition to the mess-swallowing worms, he also found some terror shrimps, demon-eating conches, and other creatures ambushing in the sand. Han Fei said gloomily, "Nine-tailed mantis shrimp, go and drag those mess-swallowing worms up for me. I've eaten their beads today." Chapter 302. Half an hour later, Han Fei had swallowed more than a dozen devoured pearls. He even used the shadow swimming technique. However, in the end, he realized that the so-called increase in speed was actually an increase in his explosive power. And this instantaneous burst of power only increased a little. If Han Fei's explosive power was 100 before, then after consuming a dozen devoured orbs, his explosive power seemed to have increased by 1 point to 101. This number might seem small, but it was actually very tempting. Overjoyed, Han Fei began to hunt the mess-swallowing worms regardless of anything else. After half a day, when Han Fei swallowed 100 devoured orbs, he realized that his explosive power had increased by about 10%. If he continued to take it, there would be no effect at all. Sure enough, there was still a problem. However, there were many treasures at the bottom of the sea. Increasing his explosive power by 10% in just half a day, this speed will probably shock countless people, right? Although Han Fei had been hunting for a long time, he didn't actually run far. Most of the creatures they encountered were anti-heaven blades, white bonefish, and terrorized crayfish. His original purpose was to look for the black moon sicklefish again. However, this fish seemed to be unusually smart. In half a day, he only found 2. Before he could even get close, she had already slipped away. For now, Han Fei sensed that it was not the SAN. There were few fish in the level 3 fishery. The fish in the level 3 fishery were smarter. They were very sensitive to danger. Some fish would slip away as soon as they saw him. At this moment, Han Fei stood on a wreckage. According to his incomplete calculations, he had moved less than 50 miles under the sea, but he had discovered as many as 7 or 8 ships. This means that in this part of the world, in the history of the level 3 fishery, countless fishing boats sank. Year after year, new ships were added to the old ones, which resulted in so many wrecks. In front of him, the 9-tailed mantis shrimp was fighting a purple soldier crab on the sand. To be exact, the 9-tailed mantis shrimp was playing with this big crab. The purple soldier crab was named after its feet. This was a type of crab with its own skills. It could control the water element and form purple whirlpools and whirlpools. Of course, the 9-tailed mantis shrimp was not afraid of it. The 9 chains whipped the purple soldier crab so hard that it almost lost its sense of direction. Seeing that there was not much danger around, Han Fei released Little Black and Little White with a flash between his eyebrows. Previously, he didn't release them because Little Black and Little White had only leveled up by 4 levels after more than a year. Now that they were level 26, they were still a long way from level 3. The level 30 creatures in the level 3 fishery were at an absolute disadvantage in terms of level. During the year of farming, Han Fei tried to enter the Soul Ocean more than once. Unfortunately, no matter how he tried, it ended in failure. It was as if his entry into the Soul Ocean was a complete accident. Of course, Han Fei had told Little Black more than once to devour the primitive spiritual beasts in the Soul Ocean. However, every time Little Black came out, its level did not change. As a result, the 2 little guys leveled up much slower than the Feather God Ray and the 9-tailed mantis shrimp. Now, Little Gold had reached level 32, and the 9-tailed mantis shrimp had reached level 34 because he came out too often and fought with Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan continuously. Han Fei reminded them, "You two be careful. This is no longer the level 2 fishery. Little Black, you must protect Little White. Don't run around and can't be more than 1,000 meters away from me." As soon as Han Fei said that, Little Black slipped away with a swish and jumped up and down on the bottom of the sea. After a while, he came back with an anti-heaven blade in his mouth. Han Fei was speechless. "That's too much. Do you think the anti-heaven blade is so shameless? You just casually brought one back. You're only level 26, you know?" Han Fei pulled its tail gloomily and said, "Don't run around." Then he said to Little White, "Little White is the most obedient. Little White, can you find a place with abundant spiritual energy at the bottom of the sea?" Little White had been staying quietly on Han Fei's shoulder. Han Fei asked and swam in one direction without even thinking. Interesting." Han Fei's eyes lit up. He knew that Little White was good at treasure hunting, but he didn't expect it to be so fast this time. Han Fei hurriedly asked the 9-tailed mantis shrimp to kill the purple soldier crab and catch up. After only a moment, Han Fei found a silver-blue tree 10 kilometers away from where he was just now, and there was a spiritual fruit hanging on the tree. Han Fei was overjoyed. A spiritual fruit from the level 3 fishery? Never in his wildest dreams would he have imagined that the spiritual fruit was only 10 kilometers away from him. Wasn't that a little too close? Han Fei looked around and stretched out his hand, and the blue sea wandering dragon rod appeared in his hand. When the hook fell on the tree, he didn't pull it immediately. He was waiting for the guardian creature to show up. By logic, the spiritual fruit at the bottom of the sea couldn't grow randomly and must be guarded by creatures. Otherwise, this thing would have been eaten by the fish at the bottom of the sea long ago. How could it be picked by humans? Sure enough, just 2 seconds later, a pair of lantern-like eyeballs popped up in the dark seawater. Not only that, Han Fei saw a big horn shining with silver light and a row of gray teeth. A unicorn shark? Han Fei was dumbfounded. He could tell that it was a shark even without seeing the whole picture. This size and fierce eyes reminded him of the unicorn shark in the books. In the ordinary fishery, the level 1 fishery, and the level 2 fishery, Han Fei had never seen a shark. The only shark he had ever seen was Zhang Xuanyu's bloodthirsty shark. And now, he came to the level 3 fishery. In less than a day, a shark came. A string of data appeared in his eyes. Unicorn shark, a carnivorous shark with a single horn on its head and ice flames in its mouth. It is extremely aggressive. When attacking, its single horn can release mysterious knife light. When being attacked, it is extremely violent. Its silver horn can easily tear apart ordinary magic weapons. Level 37 rare 1616 points long-term consumption can enhance blood and meridians. Silver glowhorn, shark teeth, shark fragrance. Han Fei narrowed his eyes slightly. Rare, not very powerful. Its level was only 37, which was quite high. Immediately, Han Fei summoned Little Gold. When Little Gold saw the unicorn shark, the latter almost turned around and ran away. Unfortunately, before it swam 50 meters, Little Gold had blocked its way. Xiao Jin bumped into the unicorn shark's horn head-on, causing the unicorn shark to roll around in the water for God knows how many times. Han Fei kept nodding. Little Gold's head was really hard. It was certain that the unicorn shark couldn't beat it. However, this single horn was not bad. He'd better keep it for now. Immediately, Han Fei said in his heart, "Little Gold, don't break its horn." Little Gold was slightly taken aback. It spread its wings and suddenly became several times larger. A pair of golden and red wings, like sharp blades. Han Fei could only see Little Gold shuttling back and forth in the water. During this period, Han Fei saw a few extremely strong knife lights slashing at it. He also deliberately tried the strength of the knife lights and blocked it with a blue sea wandering dragon dagger, and then he was knocked 50 meters away. Wow! Very strong. Han Fei's expression changed slightly. It was not that the unicorn shark was not strong, but that Little Gold was too strong. The absolute suppression of legendary-type creatures over rare-type creatures was determined by species. Seeing that the one-horned shark was dying, Han Fei took back Little Gold and went forward to fight the one-horned shark. The half-dead one-horned shark was beaten up by Han Fei in less than 5 minutes. Han Fei cut off the horn of the single-horned shark, weighed it, and slashed it with the blue sea wandering dragon daggers. A white mark appeared on the horn. It didn't seem to be as hard as he imagined. As for the shark teeth and the shark fragrance, Han Fei had no intention of taking them. How much could they be worth? Han Fei pondered for a while. Based on his current estimation, the ordinary places in the level 3 fishery were not as terrible as he imagined. It could be seen from the fact that the people on the ghost ship launched sneak attacks in the water at the beginning. There might be threats in the water, but for dangling fishers it was not fatal. Of course, for great fishing masters it was completely different. If great fishing masters wanted to dive to the bottom of the sea, the mess-swallowing worms alone could swallow them alive. They might not even be able to resist a blow from this one-horned shark. Han Fei grinned. It seemed that San Francisco in the level 3 fishery, except for the dangerous places, the other places were not fatal. This also meant that dangling fishers had to go to dangerous places if they wanted to become stronger and find opportunities. With this in mind, Han Fei looked at the spiritual fruit tree not far away and became less excited. Ordinary spiritual fruits were worthless. Chapter 303. Originally, when Han Fei first saw the spiritual fruit, his first reaction was surprise. How could he find the spiritual fruit so easily? But when he saw that the guardian creature was only a creature at the level of the single-horned shark, he immediately became uninterested. Generally speaking, the stronger the guardian creature, the higher the level of the spiritual fruit. Therefore, Han Fei didn't have much hope for this spiritual fruit. When he walked to the spiritual fruit and saw the information of the spiritual fruit, the result was beyond his expectation. Secret Jujube Tree. The remaining treasure tree in the darkness can be refined into ultra-quality magic weapons. The secret Jujube Tree can strengthen the muscles and bones. Level 37 Ultra Quality Treasure Tree 92645 Secret Jujube Tree, huh? Han Fei was slightly surprised. Judging from the level of this secret Jujube Tree, it was clearly at the same level as the snow silver bamboo, and the stick refined from it could only be a magic weapon. However, the spiritual energy content was ridiculously high. It was almost 100,000 points of spiritual energy. Han Fei's eyes immediately lit up. I don't mind 100,000 points of spiritual energy. I was willing to spend thousands of points of spiritual energy. This fruit contained 100,000 points of spiritual energy. What else could it do? Immediately, Han Fei picked the secret jujube and threw it into his mouth. At that moment, an unprecedented sweetness slid across the tip of his tongue. His taste buds opened, and a refreshing fragrance began to spread to his limbs. Han Fei deliberately didn't leave but stayed where he was. He just wanted to take a look. He just wanted to see if the bottom of the level 3 fishery was similar to the previous one. If he guessed correctly, a large number of fish and crabs should have swarmed over at this moment. However, the result disappointed Han Fei. He only saw some fallen leaves starfish floating here, and some terror lobsters drilled out of the sand to watch for a moment and then drilled back into the sand. Not only did the creatures at the bottom of the sea not move, but even the fish above his head just passed by in a hurry and didn't attack. Han Fei suddenly slapped his thigh. Damn, I forgot to take back Little Gold and the nine-tailed mantis shrimp. Immediately, Han Fei took back Little Gold and the nine-tailed mantis shrimp. In just a moment, a large number of terror lobsters, demon-eating conchs, anti-heaven blades, and other creatures appeared. The demon-eating conchs were the first to attack. These creatures were not afraid of Han Fei at all. They opened their big mouths in their shells like black holes. Han Fei waved the snow silver rod in his hand, and a large number of terror shrimps began to move out, followed by the anti-heaven blade. Nine-tailed mantis shrimp, Little Gold. The moment the two of them appeared, the school of anti-heaven blade fish swooped down and slipped away. The crayfish and the demon-eating snails also retreated and burrowed back into the soil. Of course, Han Fei didn't really want to fight these ordinary sea creatures. He was just testing them. The danger level of the level 3 fishery. Reality proved that the creatures here really were intelligent, already knowing how to cherish their lives. They seemed to be able to perceive the power of Little Gold and the nine-tailed mantis shrimp. Therefore, he immediately gave up on attacking. Only low-level creatures like the fallen leaf starfish kept bumping into Han Fei. Unfortunately, when Han Fei activated a spiritual energy protective cover, they couldn't even break it. At this moment, Han Fei was enjoying it. The energy in the spiritual fruit was not violent at all but flowed into his limbs and bones like a trickle. Han Fei felt that the little calabash on his wrist lit up and flickered. He found that part of the spiritual energy flowed into the demon purification pot. Han Fei was stunned. There is so much spiritual spring in Forge the Universe, but you don't want to eat it. Why do you want to compete with me for the spiritual energy of a secret jujube? But then Han Fei frowned. The demon purification pot, which hadn't moved for a long time, seemed to have a slight change. He quickly closed his eyes and felt it, only to see that in the dark world of nothingness in the pot, there seemed to be two words that were about to break out of the chaos and darkness. Perhaps because of the lack of spiritual energy, or for some other reason, the two words didn't come out. Wow, Han Fei was shocked. The demon purification pot had a new ability? Han Fei was shocked. Yes, he also had a new ability when he ate spiritual fruits and absorbed spiritual energy. But later, because spiritual fruits were hard to find, he mostly used the method of slacking to accumulate spiritual energy. Even if he didn't slack, he obtained spiritual spring directly from the mantis shrimp cave, the hexagon starfish, and the fire cloud cave. On the contrary, Han Fei forgot the most fundamental thing, that was, it was human nature to eat spiritual objects. The demon purification pot was silent for a long time. He almost used this little calabash as a refining furnace and a space equipment. Can it be that the demon purification pot can only continue to grow by absorbing more spiritual energy from spiritual fruits? This thought flashed through Han Fei's mind, but he was overjoyed. This was a good idea. Anyway, it wouldn't waste time to try. He was going to stay in the level 3 fishery for a whole year. Han Fei patted Little White's head and said, "Look around and see if there are any other spiritual fruits." Han Fei patted Little White's head and said, "Let's see if there are any other spiritual fruits." Han Fei patted Little White's head and said, "Look around and see if there are any other spiritual fruits." In just 3 days, Han Fei found 7 spiritual fruits in this sea area and collected 7 treasure sticks. Although they were just materials for refining magic weapons were also money. An ultra-quality magic weapon in the Linglong Tower was worth hundreds of thousands of mid-quality pearls. It was not much cheaper than the fishing boats they bought. Perhaps because there were too few spiritual fruits, the demon purification pot hadn't mutated yet. Han Fei followed Little White closely and continued to swim in the sea. Because the sea area was vast, Han Fei didn't think he would easily encounter human beings. Besides, he was hiding at a depth of 700 or 800 meters. Those ghost boat operators didn't have to dive so deep, did they? Therefore, he naturally released Little Gold. At this moment, Han Fei was sitting on Little Gold's back. The latter spread its wings and glided in the sea. One man and one monster swam on the bottom of the sea, and no creature dared to approach them. Han Fei couldn't help but think, this fish is smart, but it has its own benefits. The advantage is that he no longer has to worry about those brainless fish rushing up and attacking him. Suddenly, Little White stopped and began to swim down. Han Fei quickly patted Little Gold. Go down. Here are the spiritual fruit. But when Han Fei landed, he found that Little White was trying to drill into a stone. Huh? Wait, Little White, come back. Han Fei's expression changed slightly. After studying arrays for a year, he had a little understanding of arrays. When he saw the rocks here and the few fish passing by, he knew that there was an array here. A long knife appeared in Han Fei's hand. This long knife was a blue sea wandering dragon dagger made by Han Fei. Different from those daggers used for the million knife art, this knife was longer and was protected by a scabbard. This was a special knife for the drawing technique in the saber manipulation art. At the beginning, Han Fei had complained that the saber scripture, a heaven-level divine quality combat skill, only had one drawing technique, which was so embarrassing. However, when he used the drawing technique for the first time half a year ago, he directly smashed Lu Renquang's six-sided turtle shield. At that time, he knew that the drawing technique was an unparalleled life-saving combat skill, the kind that he wouldn't use unless it was absolutely necessary. At this moment, Han Fei took out this knife, because he was afraid of it. It was said that there were thousands of dangerous places in the Level 3 fishery. It seemed that no matter where he went, he would always encounter a few dangerous places. However, some dangerous places were very obvious. For example, trenches that suddenly sank, waters with abundant spiritual plants, ruins with rocks. These were relatively easy to find. Of course, these had long been explored by people. However, there were also some less obvious dangerous places. These places were deeply hidden. For example, the fire cloud cave that he and his team had encountered before, the barriers on shipwrecks in ordinary fisheries, and the invisible potholes found when Xia Shaochan had an attack. These kinds of places were hard to notice. At this moment, Han Fei was very sure that he had encountered a dangerous place surrounded by an array. This place looked very ordinary, and Han Fei didn't think it was a very dangerous place. As Old Bai said, when you encounter it, you will know the danger. With a thought, Han Fei put away Little Black, Little White, and Little Gold, and then threw out the nine-tailed mantis shrimp. When it came to fighting, the nine-tailed mantis shrimp and he had a tacit understanding. Han Fei circled around these stones and smiled slightly. Enigma barrier? The design is quite clever. It's not a pile of rocks, but an ordinary reef and a shipwreck as the eye of the array. Han Fei kicked up a piece of gravel. The gravel hit a rock among the reefs, and then completely sank into it. Hey! Found it. Chapter 304. After confirming the location of the entrance, Han Fei stepped in without hesitation. He was confident that he couldn't kill himself in such a dangerous small secret realm. As he stepped on the reef, an invisible ripple spread out. In the blink of an eye, the scene in front of Han Fei changed. In his sight was a space less than the size of 3 football fields, and at the end of his sight was a huge stone wall. Not far from the entrance, there were stone platforms entangled with glowing seaweeds. In the green light, a straight aisle could be clearly seen. What was particularly eye-catching was that on the left and right sides of the aisle, there were 9 stone statues in different postures, holding harpoons and big swords in their hands. If they were just stone statues, Han Fei wouldn't be surprised at all. But the 9 stone statues on the left turned out to be 9 murlocs. Yes, Han Fei was not mistaken. Among the murlocs, 8 of them had 1 tail and an ugly fish face. On their heads, their hair was covered with seaweeds, and their hands had 3 webbed fingers. And one of them had a pair of feet with webbed feet, a short pointed fishtail behind its buttocks, and the harpoon in its hand was in an offensive posture. And the 9 statues on the right were human statues, each carved exactly the same, holding a broad big sword in their hands. Because the postures of the statues were different, every movement of holding the sword looked like a move. Interesting. Is this a set of sword techniques? Unfortunately, Han Fei didn't use this kind of big sword, so this sword technique was useless to him. Behind the aisle, Han Fei could see some stone arrays and a smooth and huge stone. As a normal person, although this place was a bit weird, he would still go up and take a look out of curiosity. After all, there seemed to be nothing here except the statues. But when Han Fei just stepped on the aisle, a weird feeling slowly came over him, as if he was being stared at by something. The 9-tailed mantis shrimp didn't feel anything and still followed Han Fei, its 9 tails still wagging. Han Fei frowned and looked at the murlocs, who were a little shorter than him. He was wondering if the statues would come to life. Otherwise, why would he feel like he was being watched? Unfortunately, the statues did not show any signs of coming to life, nor did they do anything that Han Fei expected, such as moving their eyeballs or changing their postures. When Han Fei walked to the center of the statue, he heard dull crashing sounds coming from somewhere. Han Fei felt that the scene in front of him suddenly changed. He was floating in the sea, and not far from him, there were 9 fishmen and 9 humans fighting. All of this seemed to be happening right in front of his eyes. The fishmen and the humans were fighting, while the man wielding the broad sword was continuously slashing. Every time his sword fell, it was as if it was immediately bounced back by some kind of power. Then, the second sword would follow. The 9 swords were as ferocious as blades, they were all slashing killer moves. Han Fei was sure that this was a combat skill, and the illusion he saw at this moment was the owner of this combat skill who was using it. After performing a series of sword skills, Han Fei even wanted to clap his hands. This combat skill was actually not weak. It was somewhat similar to Zhang Xuanyu's 7-layered waves in Furious Sea. Unfortunately, its artistic conception was a bit worse. The 7-layered waves in Furious Sea was stronger than the previous one. After Zhang Xuanyu continued to deduce it, it had become the 9-layered waves in Furious Sea. Han Fei was almost certain that if this broadsword combat skill met the 9-layered waves in Furious Sea, it would definitely lose. But losing didn't mean that this combat skill was bad. This was obviously a trick. In terms of changes of moves, Zhang Xuanyu's 9-layered waves in Furious Sea lost. Just after the performance of this move, Han Fei wondered, this illusion should have disappeared, right? Unfortunately, to his surprise, those murlocs with harpoons were still there, even though the statues had disappeared. Besides, these manfish were all looking at Han Fei as if they were really alive. Han Fei's face changed slightly. He did not know why, but he actually felt a murderous intent from this illusion. The next moment, the 9 fishmen, except for the one with feet, all jumped towards Han Fei. The harpoons in their hands burst out with dazzling spiritual light. Could it be? The owner of this secret realm wants to use the broadsword technique just now to defeat these fishmen? Han Fei immediately laughed. This combat skill could at most be regarded as a demon-level combat skill, and it was definitely not high quality. How could he be interested in it? But just when the first fishman was about to attack Han Fei, with a clang, Han Fei pulled out his knife at lightning speed. When the saber struck, a cold light flashed. The saber chi was like a ray of light, and in an instant a huge saber light was slashed out. The illusion shattered, and the 9 fishmen in the channel turned into powder all over the ground. The corners of Han Fei's mouth curled up. How could this level be called a dangerous place? However, what made him slightly puzzled was that he seemed to have encountered an inexplicable resistance just now. He didn't pay much attention to it, and the force seemed to be easily shattered by him. After that, Han Fei continued to walk forward. In the empty field, there were reefs as tall as a man everywhere. Han Fei ignored them and walked straight to the towering stone wall. But when he walked to the stone wall, he suddenly found a long-haired girl lying on the ground, seemingly unconscious. Is there someone here? Han Fei's eyelids twitched. How could there be someone here? Han Fei was very surprised. How big was the level 3 fishery? Coincidentally, when he passed by a small secret realm, he met a person. Hey, girl! Han Fei poked the girl with a stick. Seeing that she didn't respond, he turned her over and made her face up to face him. At this moment, Han Fei saw that the girl's chest was full of blood. Without hesitation, Han Fei performed the divine healing technique on the girl. Cough, cough, cough. In the bright and holy brilliance, there was a sudden cough. Han Fei asked, "Are you awake?" Swish, a dagger. A show suddenly pierced from under Han Fei's body. Unfortunately, Han Fei didn't even need to do anything. The two chains of the nine-tailed mantis shrimp buckled the flying dagger. "Show," Han Fei said helplessly. "Hey, don't be ungrateful. I saved you, but you want to kill me?" Han Fei grinned and looked at the girl curiously. The girl seemed to be 4 or 5 years older than him. Although she was an intermediate dangling fisher, her internal breath was disordered and she seemed to be seriously injured. Han Fei squatted on the ground and asked curiously, "What a coincidence! I didn't expect to meet someone in this unknown small secret realm. Girl, nothing in this secret realm can hurt you, right?" Cough, cough. "Who are you?" The girl was pale and had a dagger in her hand. She seemed to be very scared of Han Fei. Han Fei grinned and said, "I'm a little monster, free and unfettered. I kill without blinking an eye. I don't have any salt." The girl. The two stared at each other and refused to give in. The scene was a bit weird. Finally, the girl said, "My name is Yang Ruoyun. Who are you? How did you find this place?" Han Fei said lazily, "I happened to pass by and came in to have a look. I didn't expect to meet someone here. By the way, how were you injured?" Yang Ruoyun stared at Han Fei. "You don't even dare to reveal your name?" Han Fei shrugged. "Why should I tell you?" Yang Ruoyun was silent. After a moment she said, "On this rock wall there is a sword. That sword is the treasure of this secret realm. I was also injured because of that sword." Han Fei looked up, only to find a sword hilt on the top of the rock wall. He hadn't noticed it before because the entire blade of the sword had sunk into the rock wall. It was really hard to notice if he didn't look carefully. However, Han Fei just glanced at it casually and didn't intend to take the sword. Instead, he sat on the ground and looked at Yang Ruoyun. "The sword can't run away. By the way, can I ask you a few questions?" Yang Ruoyun was speechless. "Is this guy crazy? I told you the treasure is there, but you didn't go to take it. Why are you asking me questions?" Before the girl answered, Han Fei asked, "Let me ask you something. Do you know where the abyssal chasm is?" Han Fei saw the girl's pupils constricted, and even her body trembled slightly. He subconsciously realized that this was definitely not a good place. Just the name could make people tremble in fear. It must be extremely dangerous. Yang Ruoyun was shocked. "You want to go to the abyssal chasm? Just you?" Han Fei looked at his hands. "What's wrong with me? Is that place dangerous?" But Yang Ruoyun sneered. "There are many dangling fishers in the level 3 fishery. How many of them dare to go to the abyssal chasm?" Han Fei was speechless. "Didn't I ask? Come on, tell me." Chapter 305. Inside the secret realm, it was quite weird. This was supposed to be a treasure hunt, but it had turned into a conversation between two people. Yang Ruoyun was thinking quickly. What was the background of this young man who didn't play by the rules? He seems to be very strong, but there is no killing intent in him. However, his behavior was quite weird. The first thing he asked about was the abyssal chasm. Yang Ruoyan said with a pale face, as a deal, "You help me get that sword, and I can tell you everything I know." Han Fei sneered. "The sword is there, but why should I give it to you? Now you are the fish on the chopping block. Girl, it seems that you are not suitable for business." Yang Ruoyan was silent for a long time before she said, "The abyssal chasm is hundreds of thousands of kilometers away from here. If I guess correctly, you should have just been teleported to the level 3 fishery. You might as well find a dragon boat first. If you want to go to the abyssal chasm, you might as well find a dragon boat first. Maybe some dragon boats will go to that place." Han Fei frowned. She guessed it so easily? "It seems that I don't know much about the level 3 fishery." Han Fei shook his head. "What I care about now is not the dragon boat, but the abyssal chasm, or the situation within tens of thousands of kilometers of the abyssal chasm. You can tell me. The condition is that I won't kill you." Yang Ruoyan's pupils constricted. "What do you mean?" Han Fei said lazily. "I don't want to pretend with you. Just now, when I passed by the statue, you attacked me, right? Then, you came here and pretended to be unconscious. Sister, please act better. Do you think I am stupid? You just vomited blood? You just spat out blood and I can't tell? And the sword on it, I'm afraid there is something special about it, right?" With that said, Han Fei activated the 9-star chain of the 9-tailed mantis shrimp. BM BM BM. The ground beside Yang Ruoyan was pierced. In the blink of an eye, the 9 tails entangled her. Han Fei got up and said lightly, "Don't worry, there is nothing on you that I want. You have no treasures, and you don't have a pretty face. Let me tell you, I don't like old girls." "Puff!" Yang Ruoyan wanted to beat him up. "What do you mean old girls? I'm not even 20 yet. Am I old?" Of course, Yang Ruoyan did not dare to flare up. She did want to kill Han Fei before, but she didn't expect Han Fei to be so strong. He had only used one saber strike, and under that strike, he actually did not have the strength to retaliate. If it wasn't for the illusion, she believed that she would have died under that blade. At this moment, the mantis shrimp was also so strong. Was it a heavenly talent from a certain town? Yang Ruoyan finally compromised. "Actually, I really don't know much about the abyssal chasm. First of all, the abyssal chasm was indeed very far away from here. When I first arrived, I appeared in a place that was 50,000 miles away from the abyssal chasm. That was more than half a year ago." "Half a year ago?" Han Fei was lost for words. "How far did they cross to reach this damn place?" "You drifted on the sea for half a year?" Yang Ruoyan shook her head. "Of course not. I came on a dragon boat. A month ago, I ventured into the sea to look for treasures because I couldn't afford to live on the dragon boat." Seeing Han Fei's doubt, Yang Ruoyan said straightforwardly, "Do you think it's free to live on a dragon boat? Anyone who wants to live on a dragon boat has to pay at least 100 mid-quality pearls a day. Some noble heavenly talents even pay 10,000 mid-quality pearls for a day's accommodation. This doesn't include the food and drinks on the dragon boat." Han Fei raised his eyebrows. "So profitable?" Han Fei took a deep breath. It was hard for him to imagine how many people could live on a huge dragon boat that was tens of thousands of meters long. Hundreds of thousands of people could definitely live on it. If each person charged at least 100 mid-quality pearls, then the daily income would be tens of millions of mid-quality pearls. It was said that didn't this mean that the people who ran the dragon boat business would have billions of income every day? Didn't this mean that the people who ran the dragon boat business would earn billions of yuan every day? Han Fei swallowed. "So profitable." Han Fei swallowed. "That's so King profitable." Han Fei was really shocked. How many fish dragons could he buy with this day's income? Seeing Han Fei's shocked expression, Yang Ruoyan was used to it. Of course, the dragon boat doesn't only accept mid-quality pearls. They would also collect demonic fish, spiritual fruits, magical treasures, spiritual plants, and materials of equal value. If you have a lot of common materials that you can't use, you can sell them to the dragon boats for mid-quality pearls. Han Fei tried to calm himself down. Wasn't it just money? Money only had value when it was in circulation. With that in mind, he did not take it to heart. So, what does this have to do with the abyssal chasm? Yang Ruoyun gave Han Fei a meaningful look. So, this is really your first time in San? The level 3 fishery? Han Fei nodded. It's my first time here, so what? If I had known information about the level 3 fishery, I'm afraid I would have killed you just now. Yang Ruoyun was secretly relieved to see that Han Fei did not intend to kill her. There are a few places in the third fishery that you must know. The vast seaborne prairie, the unpredictable undersea city, the uninhabited Thousand Smokes Valley, the steps into the sea where heavenly talents gather, the abyssal chasm where one can barely survive. Seeing no reaction from Han Fei, Yang Ruoyun continued, except for the steps into the sea, these places are all extremely dangerous. Even the steps into the sea, which was known to have the most opportunities, had heavenly talents fall at any time. As for the abyssal crevice you mentioned, it's located in level 3. The level 3 fishery was the second most dangerous place along with the seaborne prairie. Countless experts have explored that place, including many peak-level dangling fishers, but do you know what happened? Han Fei raised his eyebrows. What do you think? Yang Ruoyun's expression was a little frightened as she said, I can't see him if he's alive or dead. It was said that the number of people who had escaped from the depths of the abyssal crevice could be counted on 2 hands. More than half of them have gone mad. Han Fei narrowed his eyes. Is it so dangerous? What about the survivors? Yang Ruoyun shook her head. I don't know. Anyway, I haven't seen it before. Maybe some of the big shots on the dragon boats knew something about it. What secret do you think a small character like me would know? Han Fei didn't doubt it. As Yang Ruoyun said, if there were really a few people who came back alive and hadn't gone mad, they would have been controlled by some people with ulterior motives. Ordinary dangling fishers really didn't know what was inside, however. Han Fei didn't really want to go to the abyssal crevice. He just wanted to know about it first. Han Fei asked, Then do you know the surroundings of the abyssal crevice? Are there other dangerous places? Yang Ruoyun sneered. Dangerous places? San, there are countless dangerous places in the level 3 fishery. For example, the place we are in right now is also a dangerous place. If you really look for such places carefully, there are probably dozens of them within 10,000 kilometers. If you ask if there are other dangerous places near the abyssal crevice, of course there are. And they must be much more dangerous than this small secret realm. It's just that they are generally not easy to find. Han Fei nodded. He didn't think Ren Tianfei would let him find it so easily. Besides, he didn't intend to go now. Whether to go or not and whether to find it were 2 different things. At the beginning, Ren Tianfei had said that even if he became a dangling fisher, he shouldn't go, or he would definitely die. This sentence was actually very vague. Can't I go when I just become a dangling fisher, or can't I go when I become a peak-level dangling fisher? Han Fei was not sure. He was more willing to believe the former. After all, Han Fei felt that he was already very strong when he became a dangling fisher. If he advanced all the way to the strength of a peak-level dangling fisher, he would be able to fight against a hanging fisher. Why couldn't he go then? If he still couldn't go, why didn't Ren Tianfei just leave this treasure in the unknown place? Of course, having said that, Han Fei wouldn't foolishly go there now to court death. After all, from Yang Ruoyun's words, Han Fei learned a lot of things. Han Fei asked, What else? Are there any danger zones that are 1 level lower? It's not that dangerous. Haha, Yang Ruoyun shook her head. How can there be less dangerous places? Every dangerous place has its dangers. Many small secret realms that seemed ordinary and unremarkable might contain countless corpses. The real danger can't be seen from the outside. If you had absolute confidence, you wouldn't have asked such a question. Han Fei was speechless. Am I king despised by a girl? Han Fei snorted coldly. Don't think you can be arrogant in front of me just because I won't kill you. Nine-tailed mantis shrimp, keep an eye on her. With that, Han Fei stretched out his hand and a fishing rod appeared. He waved the fishing rod and the hook went straight to the hilt of the sword that was submerged in the wall.